That's right.
Are we live?
Not yet. Well,
yeah, we're live.
Yeah, there we go. All right.
We're live.
We are live. All right, everybody. Well, welcome once again to the Fist Strike Podcast. I'm your host, Oliver Long. In the studio tonight, we have Professor Alan Villacorta. We have Zach Marshall, as always, working the magic behind the scenes. We have Professor Isai Cabrera joining us. But the special guest of the evening, as I'm sure you guys have read and heard, is the one and only Professor Draculino. Welcome aboard. Thank you very much for signing up for this.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Man, this is going to be a good night. It's going to be a good night. Let's get a quick shout out to our sponsors. JustKeepPants.com, 6-month guarantee, always free shipping. ManFeed Pro, hooking it up, making Berto look good. Keeping those kangaroo flexes flexy. And Saloon Door, always keeping everybody hydrated and providing us some of the best craft beer Houston has to offer. Shout out to CANNIXX, CBD isolates, topical solutions, tinctures, make you feel real good, inside and out.
I'm finding like more and more stuff that stuff is good for.
Oh man,
like my son has eczema.
Yeah.
And like put some of that CBD oil on it, and it's starting to clear up.
Man,
it's crazy. He's had it for 2 years.
That's like a miracle.
Man, this thing is like the next big thing.
Yeah.
You can do it for everything, from diarrhea to skin rash.
Keep you safe on that.
It'll fix mother-in-law issues.
That's good, man. So you actually use some CANNIXX products, is that correct?
I do every single day. I have the oil.
Yeah, the tincture oil.
Drops.
Man.
Every day to sleep, to relax me. And I have the stick.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the stick when I have, man, that thing is really good.
Yeah, it's kind of surprising, you know. It's
amazing.
With like biofreeze out there, you know, I'm sure you've been in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
You've used enough topical stuff to
I
see
like
what
it
works,
better than anything, honestly,
absolutely.
so far.
Absolutely. Last shout out, Third Coast Grappling. As you can see, we have a new banner up here where we've done a little bit of decoration. We're slowly but surely going to get it looking pretty. Third Coast Grappling, as always, come through to help us out on the back end.
But by the way, we got the show December 7th.
That is true.
Coming to.
We actually have
the qualifiers even before that.
Yeah, qualifiers. We'll get into a little bit of that at closing, but I think it'll be good. Yeah, we'll do a little rundown of what's going on later in the year for Third Coast Grappling, Houston Grappling in general. It's going to be good. If you've seen any of the previous events, which if you haven't, you're silly. It's been nothing but amazing. High-level guys coming in and just, really showcasing high-level jiu-jitsu.
It was amazing, yeah.
Yeah, you actually you had some fighters in the last event, correct? And you had.
Hey, by the way, he had some good pictures, Professor.
Oh man,
great pictures.
I heard you got 4 modeling contracts after that.
Only for like a horror movies, maybe.
But you're scary, but a loving scary. You know, it comes from a place of love. It comes from a place of love. That's how we like to say it. No, it's been good. So you, what have you been up to lately? You've been traveling. You're a traveling man. We know Summer who's here. Both your kids have graduated.
Yes, sir.
So man, they're taking the world by storm.
It's been not tough, but a good tough, I would say. But very busy year, I would say.
Yeah.
I've been going back and forth to all these graduations, and then they're moving to, like apartments. Actually, Jade is moving to New York City to work as a lawyer, and it's a big move from Nashville. I'm actually going to Nashville this Sunday to help her with the move and everything. Igor is actually moving apartments, has a new job too. In the political field, yes. Excellent. And besides that, that's the whole, jiu-jitsu traveler professor thing that I have to do, all these seminars and all this matters with Gracie Baja in Texas and then in Brazil. So I'm all over the place, but it's good. I do what I love and see my kids now, getting successful. It's amazing.
Man, yeah.
Can't complain.
As someone who's had the privilege of training under you for almost 10 years, 10 years now, also seeing Igor and Jay Grove, it's been amazing, man. They've turned into great people. Good figures to follow after, though. So you said you're going to be going up to Tennessee.
Tennessee this Sunday.
You're going to be making any stops at any schools up there?
No, it's going to be just pretty much moving boxes.
Putting in the work.
Putting in the work and helping Jade out, and then drive back from there. I'm flying, but I'm driving her car back, so it's a good 14 hours.
There you go.
And that's a big change going from Nashville to New York City. So, that's going to be a little bit of a, I guess, culture shock. Not so much, right?
She'll be fine, man. Yeah. She's just like me.
She's a world traveler.
She's a world traveler.
Yeah.
She's a grinder. tough and smart, she'll be fine.
Yeah, she's part
I mean,
of the
she's
family.
way better than me. Who am I? I mean, she's like a better version, let's say. You
Right.
know?
I mean, it's always like that, right? Our kids are supposed to be better than us.
That's what it should be.
That's the goal.
That's the goal. Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Everything good?
Yeah, I'm gonna go get Brandon.
Good. All right. Ooh.
Whoa.
Ooh, Professor.
It's always good.
Well,
Yeah.
I heard he had some tough questions for you today.
Oh, man.
Bring it on.
So yeah, if there's topics we need to avoid, just hit Alan really hard, and
No,
that's
no.
when we need to stop.
Okay. Is the camera showing? The camera
Man,
showing?
yeah,
We'll make sure it's there. Let's say that.
When you see me sitting up straight like this, you already know, right?
I'll pretend I'm hugging and I'm choking.
Wait, hold on. I didn't know we had models here.
Professor Draculino.
No, yeah.
Look, that's a real model right there.
Everyone's doing it.
And look how he come dressed. He's like, I come dressed like, you know, of course the GP does white dress, but you know, my flip flops and the shorts, and then the guy comes, look,
Oh,
like a polo shirt that costs probably $250,
12.
and then
$12.
Oh, stop.
I'm serious.
Oh, my.
H&M,
250
$12.
pesos.
$12.
250
Who
pesos.
cares?
I heard him tell somebody else that.
Who cares about the $12?
$12.
What's the story about that?
Tell us about this. What's going on with these models?
And they say I'm a mean guy.
Oh.
He's the best.
I don't
He's
know
the
who says
best.
you're a mean guy.
He's the best.
Some people do say. Some people spread like a
About me too, Professor.
fake news.
They say the same about me.
Fake news. All about this fake news nowadays, you know.
Are we live or what? We going?
No, we're live. We're
You're
live.
live. You got late.
Actually, we started early just so you could make a fashionable entrance. I mean, with that watch, that belt, that polo, we would be sad to
Wait,
miss
hold
that.
on. So let's
I know.
get down and dirty.
Oh, I got real questions, so we can break
Real
out.
guys, real questions.
Like I said, if you need the
Bring it on.
there we go.
Professor, you
I'm not
reserve
trying-
Professor, you reserve the right to say no comments.
Oh yeah. If I need to say this, I will. I have no problem with that.
All right, well,
Let's start
get
off
these questions going.
with the most let's
Graduation
come out.
order, okay?
Let's come
Graduation
out.
order.
Let's
Go
come
like
out with
this.
some-
I'm nervous right now. I
Both
don't
of
know.
these guys have been ready for this.
Let's come out with some heat. So, Professor, there's a picture in your office. It's yourself and many legends, including Master Hickson Gracie is in there as well. And there's a big kind of, I don't know, there's a controversy in the community. Some people don't believe the hype about Hickson Gracie,
Yeah.
right? They say like, well, he didn't fight these people and blah blah blah. But you were there.
Yeah.
You were in the room.
I was.
And you were there at the beginning. So can you tell us about that picture and just kind of break it down for us?
First of all, Hickson, for my generation, it was always the man, the best fighter in the world. For Jiu-jitsu, for no holds barred, mixed martial arts was. This name didn't exist back then. It was Vale Tudo, we call. And Hickson was the man. Hickson was the man that proved on the rings and on the streets and on the mats that he was the man. And a lot of people, actually, of course, I mean, it's understandable. They actually, man, is he that good?
People from other teams, right?
Mostly from the Carson Gracie side, because they're not close
Yeah.
to this part of the family. We come from the Carlos Gracie side, you know, Master Carlos Gracie Jr., but we are a little closer to the other side of the family, you know, to the Elios sons. Carson was already like a powerhouse, but kind of like having their own thing. So a lot of the guys from there were kind of like, man, is that Hickson is the real deal? Oh, you guys training him? You guys are like, you know, like already defeated before
like
you
like
train
a
him.
Jedi mind trick kind of thing.
Kind of thing, yeah. And then, like, let me tell you this. Of course, somebody like him needed to be good. We knew it was impossible that Hickson Gracie sucked.
Yeah.
You had to be stupid to think about that, you know? But then this day, I was actually studying to make a test to have a public job in a federal court. I was one of those guys like the clerks. I was studying a lot to have this job. And I remember I got a call. It was probably like a Tuesday night, Monday night, Tuesday night. And I got a call from Big Head. Jerome Big Head is one of my good friends. And
Sorry to interrupt, Professor. The listeners out there who can't see this, Professor said that name like we all know who that is. But nobody knows. Can you explain who that is, Professor?
Big Head is a doctor now. He's a director of a big hospital in Rio, and he's old school there in Gracie Barra. And he used to train with Hickson in the past. And then Hickson reached out to him. It's one of those things. I said, "Hey, how you doing?" They met. They saw each other. There was no cell phones. There was no internet. No nothing. I don't remember exactly how they got together. And then one thing led to the other. He goes like, "Man, you know what, man? I would like to train." Since I'm here in Brazil, he was already in California.
So he already had his school in LA.
Yes,
at this point.
he did. Yes,
Okay.
This was in 1993.
And so
He was already here in America.
before he left to America, he was training at the Gracie
The main
Humaita?
Gracie Humaita
Okay.
space in Humaita here.
Yeah, okay.
He actually had that beach fight with Hugo.
Uh-huh.
2 days, 2 weeks later or something, like 2 weeks or 3 weeks, he left
Okay.
for good to LA. And then he was just passing some time in Brazil, and they say, "I mean, I'd like to train you those guys, like the best guys from CANNIXX. CANNIXX is, Master Carlos Gracie Jr. And then he goes, "Oh yeah, it'll be great." And he was legendary for being in one room and call people one after the other, like a lot of people.
And everyone
That
was
was
training, or everyone was just watching?
Everybody was training.
Okay, so
He
everyone.
called everybody to train. He put the hand in every single one of us,
But when he
one
was
after the other.
when he was training, everyone else was just watching the
Yes.
match.
Everybody's watching.
So a lot of pressure.
No, there was no training. It
So,
was like
you know it's
everybody
intense.
It was
seated.
Hickson versus everybody.
Yes.
Okay.
That should be a shirt, I feel like.
We're
Yeah.
seated, and then he went one by one. I mean, he chose, "Hey, you now, you do." And
Do you remember the order?
kind of, yeah, the first one, that was a funny story. But anyway, we were there waiting. So Big Head said, "Man, Hicks will be coming and train with us tomorrow." I was like, "Big Head." The Big Head was a apprentice. I was like, "Okay, yeah, sure." "No, I'm serious. I swear to God, swear to my mom, it's great." It's like, "Are you sure?" "Yes, be here tomorrow." "Who's going?" "It's going to be me, Henzo, Gordo, Nino, Roleta, Soca, Márcio Feitosa, Rony Rústico, everybody. It's like, okay.
And
I'll be
everybody you just named is either a world champion or a Pan American champion or both.
And
What was their jiu-jitsu legend?
Yeah, they're all those people.
Right?
You
They're
know,
all-
right?
you
they're
can
all-
look all those people up.
Big Head was the world champion of Brazil. Yeah, everybody pretty much. Like,
Either or both.
Yes. And then we're there. We got there. I'll be here. The training's going to be at 10. So we got there a little before. We were all excited. And then 10 o'clock, nothing. There was no cell phone. 10:15, nothing. 10:30, nothing. And then we start to Big Head. You're like a BSer, man. What do you do? And then people started to
Train.
No, but people just try to this and that and this and that. And then one of our guys, Rony Rústico, he had a little longer hair, and he started to mimic Hickson, to how you call it,
Okay.
He had that
What's the
jungle
word?
hair. He had
No,
that-
he put this, and he goes he walk like Hickson, say, "Hey guys, what's up? I'm Sonky here," because Sonky he's like Hickson upside down in Brazil. And this and that, and imitating him, and people cracking a joke. All of a sudden, he's walking like him, cracking a joke. Hulk comes, boom.
He's number one, right?
Everybody goes "Oh!"
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
He's the first guy.
Was he number one on the pig?
Yeah, everybody was like, "No, he wasn't," but and then everybody super excited. He goes like, "Hey guys, what's up? How you doing?" Shake everybody's hand, and then Henzo was like the highest belt of all of us, and then he goes like, "Hey, Sonky here." Sonky, he's like said, Hickson.
Yeah, okay, can you explain that? I don't
It's
get
the
it.
races like to call themselves sometimes like Le Roy. It's Hoyler.
What?
Or Si Roy is Royce.
Okay.
Sonky He is Hickson.
Now this was
It's kind of like
Reverse,
reverse.
backwards.
Do you know
Backwards.
how this got started,
I have
or
no
it's a
idea.
family thing, or just
It's
in
kind
their
of a
little
family
clique?
thing.
Or
It's kind of a family thing from them, but I had no idea.
It's a secret language.
Professor, can we start this? Can we do this backwards stuff?
I don't mind.
How would I
I
say
don't know.
it?
I don't know.
Alan,
I'll be honest with you.
yeah, how do you say Draculino?
Quadra.
Oh!
Draco.
I don't want to know. I don't want to know how to say
Yeah.
Alan right now. I'm taking those letters around like it's something funny.
Yeah, but and then
So he shows up.
He goes and then Henzo goes like, "Hey, Sonky, how's it gonna go down? What do you want to do?" And I mean, of course, he was in the higher belt, the legend, and he goes like this. I still remember, it goes like this. Typical Hickson fashion, goes like. I don't know. Maybe, maybe we can roll with each other a little bit, like put my hands on you guys.
A little bit.
A little sweat, play a little bit, that. Okay, yeah. And then he goes and looks at Gordo.
Oh shit.
Who's bigger, probably, than Hickson, right? Or same size?
Kind of the same size.
Okay.
And then Gordo's are a black belt.
But Hickson's a big guy. I mean,
Hickson, for Brazilian standards, yeah. He's like probably
185.
185.
and that's still pretty
Yeah,
decent
185
guy.
solid. And he was on his prime. And Gordo. And then Hazel says, like, man, Gordo has a really good half guard underneath. No, actually, sorry, it wasn't Gordo.
He's already
The first one, no.
I'm already going like
First one, no. First one was Gordo, and then Gordo pulled him to half guard, and he choked Gordo really fast. Like, I felt bad for Gordo because, like, after, I tell you why, but I mean, he was kind of like first training, and then Gordo pulled to half guard, and Hickson kind of based out a little bit, got some distance, and put both hands like one under the arm, and choke him out.
Like with cross choke.
Cross choke. And then, boom, and they were like, man, that's gonna be, And then he goes like, and then he goes like, no, you. It was Marcelo Garcia. Marcelo was always known to have like an amazing base, like small guy, like almost impossible to shoot, like.
And he's brown belt this time.
He was purple. I was brown.
And you're brown, okay.
Oh, yeah, and then Renzo goes like, man, this kid is super hard to sweep. He's very hard to sweep. And then Marshall pulls him to his guard. And everybody goes like, I think Marshall's trying to be nice. I don't know. And then Hickson, Pass did his thing and tapped him. And then was one after the other. And then I'm gonna tell all the details about it. Everybody got tapped out. But I remember that Roleta brought him some little trouble.
How?
Because Roleta is very hard to pass his guard. It's almost impossible.
So if people who don't know, Roleta's kind of the first person to really start using inverted guard.
Yes,
right?
Roleta was the OG on the inverted guard, with like a really flexible leg, super long legs. He's still known as one of these days one of the best guard players ever. And Roleta was purple. And then Hickson ended up tapping everybody out. Hansel was the last. Hansel was the best of us in the end. He was the last. And I remember with me, my session with him, it was amazing because he tapped me out, like he did it to everybody else, but he lets you train. It's not that he puts a hand on you like he did Gordo, poor guy. Gordo was the one that, I don't know.
He had to set the tone, Professor.
Yes, I think it was.
He was giving out a message.
Yeah, he had to set the
And
tone.
Gordo was, after Hansel, Gordo was the best of all of us there. And then he let me train with him. I strapped him.
You pulled guard? Or?
I pulled guard, yeah. And then I strapped him. And I could tell, of course, he wasn't 100%.
Professor, did you already have your spider guard at this point?
Yes.
Okay.
But I strapped him from kind of like grabbing the knee and getting like a kind of a hook flip, but with the spider hook. Yeah, it was kind of like that. And then got on top of him, he played with me like a cat playing with the mouse. And all of a sudden I remember that I can clearly feel that he goes, oh, okay, there's no play anymore.
Now it's real.
It's time. And then he got on top, past my guard, mounted me really fast, like fluid. Then I couldn't stop. I felt like 1,000 pounds on top of me. And then all of a sudden, all I could do is to try to protect my neck and turn. And he choked me kind of like bow and arrow. Not even, kind of from technical mount.
Mm-hmm.
He choked me from there. And, long story short, he tapped all of us out, one after the other. The only time he stopped to change his gi. Because he had like a really, really big, thick judo gi. It was super big. His gi was like here.
And back then, most people used judo gis or these jiu-jitsu gis.
It was like the gis, he changed for a gi that we call lizu gi, like a summer gi.
Yeah.
That wasn't even with the thick fabric, That was the only time. After Roleta, he was sweating a lot, and he sweats a lot. Hickson's big sweat. Then he fixed his hair, and then he changed the gi, boom, kept going.
Just a quick question here. Who sweats more, Hickson Gracie or Juan that trains with us?
Oh man, I think Juan
has to be more.
The other day I saw Juan stand up in a no gi, and there's a puddle.
It's insane.
Juan doesn't need the pool.
It's insane. You know what?
Never view the pool.
He's like
He just works out as a pool for him. Right?
He's like in the very,
Yeah.
very first X-Men, where the guy who was trying to kill all the mutants.
The senator?
Yeah, the senator. They made him a mutant, and he kind of like melted into water. That's what Juan is like.
That's him.
Yeah.
Juan, if you're listening, we love you.
Oh yeah.
Shout out
That's
to
it.
Lucy J.
You know what's crazy?
Shout out to Campeón.
My first training session is always with the sweatiest guy on the mat.
That's the worst.
Always.
When
And I don't
you
sweat.
when you come in a little bit late and you're nice and like you're cold and dry, and then you
Yeah.
get that sweaty
It's
guy.
sweaty and cold.
It's the worst.
Sweaty and cold. That's what
It's
you
okay
know.
if you're warm, but
So, Professor, tell us a little bit about, like, you said, like, Holeta was maybe the best match. And do you remember what the problem was and also how Hickson solved it? I mean, it's
Hickson-
hard to explain maybe on
He
a podcast.
was like a genius because he could like adapt.
Mhm.
You know, in the middle of fights. You see, saw him back in the fights when he fought Zulu.
Yeah.
Back in the day, man, people think like, man, Zulu was a beast. Zulu was like kind of comparing now to be like John Jones or to be like a
Fedor or
DC or Fedor.
He was a
you know?
physical specimen,
Like
right?
physical
Yeah.
specimen and good grappler, super strong. He knocked out people with slaps on the face.
Jesus.
A lot of times. Like his hand was kind of like a crazy. Anyway, so remember, he's trying to pass Holeta's guard more kind of like tight and kind of like stacking. And
Like
it wasn't working
like
really
a-
well. That's why he
like
does.
a double under.
Kind of, yeah.
On the knees,
And
maybe?
like this, the one that I like.
Oh, yes, sir. Yeah.
That you control the hip through the hand of the car, and doing a lot of that and trying to step over, and then he wasn't like, he was taking a time. I could see that he was really trying hard, but then I think Holeta swept him, and then he did like one of the coolest things I ever saw. He went for a scissor sweep, and then he switched the grip from the outside arm to the inside arm, and then he went under and he did that sweep, which is kind of like
Oh, like a sacrifice stroke.
a sacrifice stroke
Yeah.
with the knee, like this. Holeta was like in the air, and he landed mounted him.
Wow.
This is nobody go to side control.
Yeah.
He landed mounted. When he mounted, Holeta was like, he couldn't even move, man. Then all of a sudden, Hickson style.
Classic.
Done.
And Professor, this is the time when jiu-jitsu, there's moves that you may pull out, like, or do that no one has seen before, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of like new technology coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. But he was never like, he kept us out in basic stuff.
Yeah.
But unstoppable. You know, like Roger. Roger tapped out everybody. You know,
Mount cross choke.
or back or armbar in the guard or nothing fancy.
Very basic.
But
yeah.
people can stop
I mean,
it.
some guys have this grip. They put that hand in, it feels like a dry potato that
Yeah.
you haven't even boiled, and you know
Yeah.
that's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have to deal with it.
So now I've heard about some sessions, and this is just like hearsay and rumor and stuff. But I heard there was a similar kind of thing with Hickson. He went over and he trained with Carlson guys. He trained with Polifilio, and he trained with I think somebody else.
I heard about this.
I
with
heard about a
Paulo,
session
yes.
with. I heard about a session with Saulo Hiberio too.
Yes. They were kind of the same team. So
Can you
with
tell us
Saulo,
about any of that? Do you remember?
I wasn't there. I heard about it.
Okay, it
I
happened.
know. I just know one thing. Everybody who trained him said the same thing I said.
That's what I heard.
So how can it be like a myth or like a
The
or
results
like a
are the
lie?
same.
Yeah, everybody goes and trains the guy. Goes like, man, the guy's amazing. You know.
Now, I know
That's
Hickson
the truth.
has some injuries, right? I know he's been having back problems, and I think in jiu-jitsu it's pretty common back
Yeah,
problems,
yeah.
you know, knee problems. You know, he still trains today, right? I mean, I'm sure it's not as intense as before. But
Yeah, no, I'm not sure.
He still teaches.
yeah.
He still teaches. I love the guy. I mean, the guy's like an idol for me, and he treats me really well. Always, you know, I always like we get along really well. We see each other, we talk, and all that. But I'm not sure exactly what's going on with him. He's a really reserved guy, and he doesn't go much like
Social media.
anything. So he was always kind of more like a reserve. He's like real samurai kind of thing. He's
Yeah.
kind of more to himself.
Well,
has
and
his
he-
own
you know, he-
things, you know. So
He seemed like he burned the candle at both ends.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
he seemed like he lived his life. I mean, he's still living it, but I mean,
Yeah.
he lived as hard as he could.
Yeah.
I mean, he seemed like he never
In
turned down a
Japan, he's
challenge.
an idol too now,
Yeah.
man. And Japan's the land of samurais. And they consider him more samurai than other Japanese.
You know, you look at the demonstration he did with Hoyler, you know, the self-defense in Japan.
Yeah, right.
Badass. Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
I wish we could see more of that. Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
he's definitely one of a kind.
Okay,
you know?
so we talked about the old school legend, Hickson Gracie, right? Now I want to bring up another story. This is very embarrassing for me. But you know what? I'm here for the listeners.
There's many of those.
I'm here for the listeners, and it might embarrass Professor a little bit, but you know we're here to ask the tough questions, so we're going to do it. Now, but I don't remember when you first told me this. I think I was working at the school at the time. I'm not 100% sure, but the person in question is Marcelo Garcia, and I know you know where this is going. He's a legend kind of right now, and I heard he's coming back. I'm not sure, but I heard he wants to come back to competition.
Yeah, I heard that too.
Anyways, he kind of came out very, very strong and was very dominant for a long time, kind of in the new school. And we were having a conversation of something, and I mentioned his arm drag, and you made a comment that.
It's a true story.
Okay, I'm gonna let you take over from here, okay? And I'm ashamed to say, I didn't believe you. It's hard for me to. I didn't just straight up not believe you. That's not what I'm saying.
You did tell me that one time.
But I was just a little bit. I don't know what I thought. But take over, Professor. Take over.
Well, there was this super fight event in Brazil. I think it was at the year 2001.
This is in Belo.
In Belo.
He's from the same state as you.
He's from the same state as me in Minas Gerais, and he was a brown belt already, and already like cleaning the house. So there was a lot of super fights, really good super fights. For example, Damian Maia versus Professor Marcelo was that day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Professor Marcelo won.
Wow.
Oh, nice.
Desafio.
It was.
No, it wasn't this.
It was in a sports fair, big sports fair. Don't remember the name of the name. It was just like super fights. It was really good ones. It was Marcelo Garcia against a student of mine called Porquinho. Porquinho is the one that submitted on the purple belt. Submitted Jacaré. Submitted Jacaré really fast on the choke. And Porquinho was on fire too. They were both brown belts. And then it was really good match. Marcelo and Porquinho was like back and forth, like almost like submissions from both sides, and Marcelo ended up winning. And I had the main event. I did the main event against this guy, Gabriel Cardoso. Gabriel Cardoso was a really high level judoka. That started to do jiu-jitsu tournaments, and he did really, really good. You know, he came from the brown belt. I think he was a world champion of brown belt, and now it was his first match as a black belt.
But this is the no-gi match as well.
It was a no-gi match. Yeah, it was a no-gi super fight. I was coming out of my surgery when I broke my leg. It was the first competition I had after I broke my leg in pieces.
In the ADCC or the
in the world? At the world, that broke my leg. Did like a major surgery that I had like all this metal on my leg. But anyway. In this match, a no-gi match, I did like an arm drag, starting from the sitting guard, that I really did a really, really hard arm drag, and I got the guy's back kind of standing.
Yeah.
And everybody's, whoa, you know, so it was a big thing, and people were not used to that kind of thing back in the day. And
what year is this, Professor?
It was 2001 or 2000. 2001, 2000. And then I did this. That's on YouTube, you guys.
Yeah, you can check it out. You can type in Professor Draculino, Cardoso.
Yeah, I was in a white tank top.
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
Is that a picture of you like smiling?
Yes.
You're on the guy's back and you're
smiling?
Yeah,
that's one of the most famous jiu-jitsu.
It's like the best picture.
Yeah, I got the guy's back because it went to overtime. Because it was a good match. Like I tried guillotine and it was back and forth, and then I took him down, even being surprising because I was just putting guard. And then on the overtime, he was thinking of putting up more. I took him down. And I took him down. He had to open himself a little bit more, and then I got his back. And anyway, after the match, we all got together on the podium talking. And I always had a really good relation with Marcelo. Marcelo was a super nice kid, man. We got flights to Europe like a couple of times, like random flights. We saw each other, sit together, talk forever. I remember one that when he was about to do his MMA fight, he was asking me what his thing was. He's a really good kid. And I remember it was him and his wife, Tatiana, they're still married. And they was just talking.
She's also world champion, I think.
She is, yes.
Yeah.
She is.
I think she won before him.
Yeah, she was what more all known than him
Yeah,
before.
yeah, exactly.
And then we were both talking, and I remember like Marcelo comes to me and was like, "Hey, Drac, like how do you do that thing that you kind of like pull the arm end up on the back?" That wasn't even the name arm drag. I was like, man, you know, I just kind of crossed the arm and then I exposed the side. He was like, yeah, it was pretty cool. That was it. I'm not gonna say I didn't teach him anything. He doesn't do arm drag because of me.
I don't know, Professor.
But he's known for two things.
But one thing I do know, he didn't do it before that match. He was amazing already. Did a lot of the crazy things like him. You know, he's always amazing. He was, I think, once he was a yellow belt as a kid. He beat on the tournament like a brown belt. It was kind of like,
wow.
Yellow belt?
Yellow belt.
And there's two things he's known for. A, butterfly guard. He does a lot of butterfly sweep or
Yeah, it's his game.
And
But he did it
also-
before. He was always like that because it's like
short legs, right? And
Yeah,
that's
but
why-
arm drag he didn't do it before.
And then arm drags.
But look,
He went out and did his own research after
I
that?
am not the one, but I remember him talking to me about that, and I thought it was really funny.
Yeah, and then
Because
afterwards-
it was a big event and we talked and it was right there when that thing got kind of like, there was one like somebody's, it was probably like back in the day like one of the first guys to do like the arm drag the way it's done right now. And it looks like very translated to the modern jiu-jitsu kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
You know, one thing.
But I mean, he's 10,000 times better than me in arm drag, that's for sure. You know, if he got inspired or whatever, he took it to the next level.
Yeah, you were his muse, so it worked out well.
You know, so by the way, that's a true story. Yeah.
You know, going off that
I
note, you
love
said
that.
jiu-jitsu of the early 2000s, and I'm a big fan, and we spoke about it.
Oh, like the golden age.
I say that was one of the best times in jiu-jitsu because you had people going for takedowns, people going for takedowns,
No.
judo throws,
Yes.
actually takedowns, and it's not just both guys pulling guard.
No.
It
It was kind of a shame. I remember it was kind of a shame, like when I first started training, that I remember I do remember that sometimes when you're like training, you used to put the hands on the gi of somebody and sit up straight to guard. And then I remember our professor saying like, what a shame, man, you see your butt on the mat like a little, excuse me, a French bitch.
Whoa!
You say what you gotta say.
I
say what you gotta say.
We go live at 9. This is 18 and up. If you can't handle that,
It's getting real in here.
That's right.
And then they used to say it was kind of like, even a little bit of like almost like a coward thing to do sometimes. You know, stand with the guy, you get taken down, you get it. But it was like, it didn't make any sense because if I'm going to get taken down hard or maybe get... So it was a little bit of like, of always like, you have to know takedowns. You have to at least try to do the takedowns. At least to give the guy the chance to do takedowns. You know, there's the standing part of the training. That's the top and the bottom. So we were always like very driven to do everything. People used to make fun of like, for example, if the guy was the only guard player, it was like, the only thing you do is this. You cannot even pass the guard. I bet if like a guy put you in a headlock, you're done. You ask, you know, oh, let me go. You know, so people used to kind of ridicule people who were like really one-dimensional. You know, and that changed eventually.
Snap on them.
And you know,
And we were always obligated. So I mean, I think I'm blessed because I mean I was always more kind of like a natural guard guy because I was flexible and I'm skinny and small. So
Well, yeah, you're smaller in the room, so naturally you're going to be put on.
I would be on the
most
bottom,
of
so
time,
yeah,
right?
exactly. But I always did takedowns. You see my matches on the blue belt, man, I wish I had like those on tape still. You could see like already me doing everything. It's pretty cool. Like some people are like throwing them, some other people is going like pulling guard and sweeping and getting on top. Other people are just like doing guard and waiting for the time to go for submission. So
When
it
did you
was
say that changed,
paid off.
Professor?
Yeah,
when did it become okay to pull guard?
It was always okay,
But when it was not
depending on the
solid.
day. Nowadays it's kind of like double pull.
Yeah, everybody, it's
So-
like,
so-
the only contact is hand slap.
So my-
Yeah.
It seems like, so back in the the golden age, right, of jiu-jitsu, it seemed like people, so there really wasn't established MMA.
No.
You had Valley Tudo, but it wasn't that,
No.
it's not like they had regular shows
Yeah, it
all the
wasn't
time.
regulated.
So
No.
it seemed like if you wanted to fight, you would do kickboxing, lucha libre, or you would do Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Right? And so jiu-jitsu, the way that you thought about it was it's a fight without punches.
Yeah.
Right? So,
That's where the matches were.
Yeah, so that mentality.
That's why there was, I think, it was a little more exciting.
Yeah.
Because it was a fight without striking.
That's right. So what do you think changed? Did the athletes change? Did the coaches change?
Look,
did the sport progress? What do you think
The
changed?
sport progressed.
The sport.
The sport progressed, and I have absolutely nothing against guard pullers, double guard pullers. It is not their fault. At all. It is
That was
the fault.
beautifully tactful.
It is the rules' fault.
By the way, I am changing my ways.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you what.
Takedowns.
If
You
you
know?
get into a match with a guard puller, after the match, you shake his hand, wash your hands.
No, it's not like that. Guys, I pulled like thousands of people to my guarding matches, so it's not. It's a resource that you can use. You
It
know,
depends on the situation.
But my point is, like, how can you judge, or like you say in Brazil, throw rocks on a competitor that are playing within what he can in the rules
Yeah.
and winning?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Well, that's the thing. If these tournaments,
he's winning, you're not.
Yeah.
So you're gonna talk crap about the guy who's winning.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense. You know, it's not his fault. He's doing what he can do or he needs to do to win.
Yeah.
It's just like the sport changed with the time, because also I think that before the vale tudo in jiu-jitsu and the self-defense and jiu-jitsu being the #1 martial arts for real fight, it was a little closer. We are a little closer to that.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you see that it's already getting further and further, and it's okay because it's specializing on the sport.
Yeah,
That's fine.
It's becoming like boxing or wrestling.
Yes,
It's becoming very specialized.
exactly.
Whereas
It's
before it was more
wrong.
general.
Before it was more general. Before we come, like the Gracies taught the jiu-jitsu, totally based on self-defense, totally based on being efficient on a real fight, on a street fight. Yeah, like a one-on-one street fight. And this was always really strong in our culture. And we trained like all belts, self-defense, some striking, takedowns, everything. Because it was like you said, it was a fight without strikes. When I was a blue belt, early blue belt, you could do everything.
Yeah.
You could do neck crank, you could do slam, like full slam, like a batistaca we call. Somebody put it in the triangle, the easiest thing in the world is to see people lifting it. Boom!
Well, and you told
knee
me
bars, knee twist, man, like knee ripping.
Yeah.
And that's an important skill to
Heel
learn.
hook. People weren't that good back in the day, but could do a heel hook. Ankle lock.
Yeah.
Toe hold. Knee bar. Remember knee bar when people start doing this knee bar thing, you know? And everything was allowed. It was pretty much a fight without strikes for all belts.
And you know, it's an important skill to know how to, when someone picks you up, hey, let go of the guard,
Exactly.
stand up,
Exactly.
make your space,
Or
right?
you hook a leg. I mean, I think it's important for people to understand too about like the reason techniques are illegal. It's not because they are undefendable.
No.
It's not. That's not the reason. It's not. I mean, it's not illegal to slam someone because you cannot defend the slam. It's that if you do, you break their neck. That sucks for the person.
That's
You know
it.
what I mean?
Well,
That's the
that's
final
why-
outcome.
But you gotta also learn that if someone picks you up, how to
you
stop,
open
stop
or
it,
you hook the leg.
or
you know?
you get out, right?
Hook the leg, go open the leg. You know, I think that is like a very normal thing that the sport develops. And I think athletes are getting more and more and more and more specialized
Yeah.
according to the rules. If they change the rules, somebody will come and have to specialize in other kind of games
Yeah.
or other kind of strategies and everything. So I am not one of those guys, jiu-jitsu nowadays, it was only good back in my day, blah, blah, blah.
So-
That's not the case. Nowadays the level is higher, the sport is more developed,
Right.
there's more competitors, there's no such thing. You know, it's just the sport is progressing. And if I could, I mean, who am I? Because the rules are the rules and I follow the rules. I could do a little changes on the rules, maybe to try to make it a little more exciting.
Like to give more value to the top position? and
Yes,
stuff?
yes. I had a really long conversation on this world, this past worlds with Fábio Gugel, Professor Fábio Gugel, Professor Mario Reis, he was there too, and Professor Siriema, Marcelo Siriema is the head guy at GJF.
Yep.
Professor Andrés Fernandes. So I was talking to a lot of people about certain ideas to make it happen, you know, and some people agreed with my ideas, some people think it could be different and all that, but it was a really healthy debate, you know. These guys, they listen to that, they're going to remember that talk.
So let me ask you this. So I know you're familiar with judo, obviously.
Yes.
Judo's a very popular sport in the world, and there was a big controversy. I think maybe it was 2010, whatever. They changed the rules like drastically. You can't grab the legs with the hand.
Yeah.
And what's happening now is they're changing the rules pretty regularly. Basically, every Olympic cycle, they're changing the rules, right? It's a small change. Now, at first, I thought, like, you know what, this is bullshit. The athletes can't learn the rules in order to compete, right? But then I started to look at it a different way. What I started to realize is, you know, maybe they're making these rule changes so the athletes can't game the system. They can't win by cheating the rules, so to speak. What do you think about applying that sort of mentality to jiu-jitsu? Like just making small changes so the athletes can't create a very specific, very like rule-specific strategy to kind of. I mean, I don't want to say cheat. I think people should be commended for creating a strategy within the rules. I agree. But at the same time, you definitely can get some matches that are very boring.
Would you say 50-50?
I don't know.
I love 50-50.
You can stall.
I'm not saying that.
Look, you can stall from any position. You can stall from any position, and I commend anybody who creates a system within a system.
I'm saying you can game the system on the 50-50. I'm not saying I don't like it. I'm just saying that you can wreck the 50-50
you can do the same thing in the close guard.
and you can win the game.
You can do the same thing in the close guard.
You can stall in half guard. Half guard was known as the key stalling position.
You can stall from even for Spider-Man.
You can stall, but
Professor, what do you think about that? You know, making small changes to the rules to keep the athletes honest.
I get it. I understand this, and I agree 100%. I don't think, like you said, you actually said it yourself. It's not cheating. It's just like they're playing with their weapons that they have to play according to the rules. I think it's just a matter of, yes, the people, the entities that make the rules try to see a problem. I think the biggest problem in Jiu-Jitsu nowadays in regards to having some matches that are boring and matches that are hard to understand is the double guard pull. I think it's not the 50.
Which they were pretty rough on in the Worlds this year.
I think the 50-50 happens because, most of the time, because of the double guard pull.
None of them want to give.
Yes. So I think the double guard pull is something that is allowed that they do under the rules, and people are doing great jobs from that. Some people get their back from there, some people get foot. But the thing is that when you see two guys that are specialists in guard and specialists on double guard pull, is the most boring thing in the world.
And then specialists.
I rather see like two guys of 500 pounds each push each other like a sumo wrestling. I rather see that 1,000 times than see like this kind of like two spiders having sex like this. You know? So it's.
I love that analogy.
It's because like you get a guy, for example, let's say like somebody from Nike, the biggest sport brand. You know, or Reebok, or whatever, Adidas.
Hibaki.
Yeah, Hibaki. These guys go to the World Championships to watch, to see. They see like this amazing venue with a lot of people, live TV, and this and that, and then he goes finals, black belt finals, boom, double guard pull.
Now, what did you say with like spiders having sex?
Now, is it like one coming from the top?
No.
Man, like people.
No, it's butt scoots, man.
Regular people.
So I have a question.
Don't understand that.
Yeah.
We appreciate, we understand the technical nuances and all that. But regular people won't understand what it is.
Yeah.
This is the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu that people say is very effective in a street fight. Nah, it's not. You got two guys with their butts on the ground like turning. So that is what I think, something that is not the fault of the guys that are doing that. It's the fault of the rules that allow that thing to happen.
The athlete's job is to win.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
He's there to win.
That's there to win.
Would you say
100%.
a good response or maybe a change in jiu-jitsu would be, hey, it goes to the ground on first takedown.
I have a good solution for that. I gave to the guy. Some people agreed, some
Let's
people
hear
didn't
it,
agree.
Professor.
I think that if there's a double guard pull, they have to count 3 or 5 seconds. The referee goes 1, 2, 3. Let's say 5 seconds. Whoever gets on top gets 2 points.
Yeah, not
I think
advantage.
that's a good. That's a good. Yeah.
Because this is one advantage of coming on top. Man, one advantage is nothing.
Yeah.
I see people actually celebrating when the other guy comes on top. That gets an advantage for her. The guy celebrates because I do it. I'm here.
Very boring.
You know what I mean? So
What, Professor? Speaking of celebrating, what do you think about people who celebrate when their opponent injury defaults? I never understood this. I never understood
Or
this.
win
would
by
feel-
injury.
Or they win by DQ. I mean, I never understood
I would
that.
feel bad for the guy that got hurt, my opponent. That's what I
Well,
feel.
also too, but I
I
think
felt bad for myself because I mean,
that's right. As a competitor, you want to
Gotta
go
win,
there.
you know?
Yeah, you want to go there and prove you're the best.
Yeah.
So I don't understand that. Sort
But you
of
see that a
idea
lot
either.
now in the jiu-jitsu of today, in a sense, right?
And you know what? You have to understand also the situation. Let's say like a fighters of the world's black belt. Something like that happened. The guy's a world champion. That changes the guy's life.
Yeah, you know
It's
that's
not.
true. That's true.
It's not the fact that it was the way the victory happened. It's just like because he's the world champion, and he has all the right in the world to celebrate that fact.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it depends. You know, if you do this in an early round, I think it's kind of like ridiculous. You know,
Or in a small tournament.
or a small term, exactly. I
Yeah,
think it's
yeah.
kind of ridiculous. It's more ridiculous the guy who fakes,
Yeah, that's.
puts himself in that. Go
Yeah.
This is the worst in the world, man. I don't know how they
So,
look at.
what do you think about
themselves
this?
in the
So,
world.
we talked about judo changing the rules, and I want to make another kind of connection there. So, recently, I'm not sure if you know, but so judo used to have 4 scores. They had
Uh-huh.
Koka,
Kokai, Yuko,
Wazari,
Mazari, Pong,
Ippon,
yeah.
right?
Uh-huh.
So, relatively recently, a couple of years ago, they took away Koka and Yuko. So they only have
Oh,
Wazari
really?
and Ippon.
I didn't know that.
Now, people freaked
I heard about Koka, but
People freaked out, okay? However, the statistics show there are more finishes in the matches than there were before. So, by taking away those small scores, what do you think about
Interesting.
taking away the advantage from jiu-jitsu? Do you think that would force people to score points and force people to work a little bit harder?
Put it in overtime or something.
that could happen. But at the same time, I think there will be a lot of matches left for interpretation.
Okay, so what about an overtime? What are your thoughts on
I like
dislike?
overtime.
Like
First
first
point
what-
wins.
I like
First
overtime.
point
What
wins.
kind
Start
of stuff?
standing.
Yeah, like a golden score, first points?
I
Or-
like golden score first points. Otherwise, the tournaments will be for
Well, it's
take forever.
gonna force action at that point.
I like it. I
Yeah.
like golden score a lot, actually. But
I always like overtime.
man, like imagine this, like in
Like a 3 or 4 day tournament.
in a national
Okay, but-
tournament
so-
that had
so-
like 8,000 people.
Okay, so but do you think
Stop.
do you think it would change an athlete's?
Maybe in the finals.
Yeah, maybe in the finals or the
if you
semifinals.
if you had
Semifinals.
if you had a situation where you had a 10-minute match at black belt,
Mhm.
and then you knew there was an unlimited time overtime, how many people do you think would want to finish in that 10 minutes to avoid
That's true.
that long overtime? I competed in a tournament called the Gracie Worlds when I was a brown belt,
Yeah.
and there was a 30-minute time limit,
Mhm.
right? It was it was submission or the first person to 12 points,
Mhm.
and the average match length was 7 minutes
Yeah.
because people didn't want to stretch it out that long.
It's kind of like that, right, Professor? They get you in a helicopter, they throw you in the middle of the sea,
Yeah.
and they say, like, for example, look, you're by yourself. Probably this person is going to die in like maybe an hour or 2 hours. But if you throw the person, say, like, in 5 hours I'm coming to pick you up.
They'll survive. Yeah, exactly.
You'll probably survive in
That's
5
right.
hours.
That's right.
So it changes the mindset. People throw you in the middle, like, of the ocean, and they just throw you there. And you're by yourself, buddy.
That's right.
Do what you got to do.
That's right.
You're probably going to freak out and just give up, and then, you know.
So do you think
So that is this
do
factor, yeah.
you think advantages make the game more exciting or less exciting?
I think you should only know if you take that away and see what happens as a result. It's very hard to say, because I think the advantages can be also like a big, like I would say for scoring factors, that could be a good thing. That could be like the differentiation on the scoring. On a
You think there would be a
match.
lot of backlash if all of a sudden IBJJF took away advantages? You think a lot of people
I
would
think
be
a
like,
lot of people would love it, and other people wouldn't. I
Maybe
think,
like 50-50
I
or?
think so.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's kind of
Yeah,
like
it depends
like
on
a
the
double guard
athlete,
pull.
I think. It depends on the athlete. Right?
Style. Yeah.
double guard pull is the biggest.
So,
I think that the biggest problem in jiu-jitsu now, for a big picture thing about sponsors, about TV, about all that, is the double guard.
Or-
I think
or
from
maybe-
now
Well,
on,
I'm a guard guy. I mean, I'm going against myself.
I think from
Don't
now
get me
on,
wrong,
this
but
should
I
be
mean-
the international signal for double guard pull.
Well, Professor,
Which it is.
I know you're a student
That's
of
the
the
actual
game.
international spider
I know
game
you're a
for spider
student of the
sex.
game, and
Spider scissors.
That's what they do in
Spider
Australia.
sex. You'll remember that when Kodokan Judo broke away from Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, they had basically a match to see, right?
Yeah.
And the Kodokan Judo guys all pulled guard and beat, or the yeah, I think that was it.
The other guys, right?
Yeah, and so
The guys from yeah, I know the story.
right, they all pulled
Yeah.
guard, right, and they
Yeah.
won. But then
Yeah.
later, Jigoro Kano was like, no, you can't do that. That's bullshit. I don't want you guys pulling guard. And they changed the rules. So now that you have judo, it's all stand up, no guard pulling. So do you think that situation
I
is
think
going
he
to
did this for his own interest.
like? Do you think? but do you think history's going to repeat
What am
itself?
I to say?
He's like, if I gotta watch this,
Master
make it
Jigoro Kano
exciting.
was, but I don't know. I really don't know the history.
I got an
too much
idea, and
about that.
before I have a question about something else, maybe if two guys double butt scoot, right,
Mhm.
and then you get a warning, there's no pulling guard at this point. Now you have to go for takedown. So once you get the warning, now you got to go for takedown. So you can't pull guard, right?
Yeah.
So you have to force these
Like,
two guys.
like you have a limited amount of guard
Or just the
pulls kind of
negative.
thing?
The negative
So maybe you
man.
get a warning for double guard pull, and now
Then
the
you
ref's
have to-
like, now you got to go for takedown.
Look, I think my
DQ.
solution is very
That's the
practical and
next
easy
step.
to do. 2 points.
No,
Because 2
I
points,
think
people will
you're
think
right.
about it.
no, it's a big
Yeah.
deal.
Big 2 points, people will think about it. They will think about it. Because they think like, oh, maybe this guy's gonna get on top of me and win by just
Yeah, because
staying in the guard, not being swept.
now
And
you can't play the advantage game.
Yeah, now it's a legit strategy. You know your opponent's going to pull. You double pull with him, get on top, you get an advantage. I mean, that's a legit strategy. You saw it play out many times in the
Oh, yeah.
Worlds this year.
So those 2 points would now come in real
Yeah.
big if it's
Yeah.
that instead of an advantage.
the,
People
the,
will
the 2
say-
points, people think about it more.
Yeah.
Nowadays, nobody think about nothing. One advantage,
One
what is one
advantage.
advantage?
I have
You
a
know,
question.
Not seeing them
Yeah,
retweet
so
each other.
let's keep the controversy rolling.
I have a question right before you go.
Okay.
We talked about jiu-jitsu, the early 2000s. We have takedowns, judo, all this double butt scoop. What has jiu-jitsu changed?
Spiders having sex.
Spiders.
Reverse style.
That's what it
Spider
is.
reverse
Reverse
style. Reverse style. But what
Yeah.
has jiu-jitsu changed when it comes to? So we talked about the actual jiu-jitsu. When I'm talking about is the team.
Uh-huh.
You have what people talk about Koreanji, people jumping ship, and there's been a lot of news lately in the jiu-jitsu scene. People jumping ship because, hey, we just want to have you on our team.
Mhm.
What do you feel,
Just
or
business.
how do you feel about
Just
this?
business, they say.
Because I'll tell you this, and Oliver, we talked about this. I'm big on. I live by the samurai code. If you say you're gonna do some shit, you do it, right?
Mm.
I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of that has been lost in jiu-jitsu.
What I think is that it's professionalism. It's one of the backlashes of professionalism. Now there's more money involved. Now there's like sponsors involved, and things like that. You know, make
Well, there's
harder.
people actively recruiting as well.
That's my point. My point is like that. Look, every kid that has a dream has the right to have a dream. I don't condemn a kid that, for example, trains in a small school that is hard for him to have a result because there's not enough training partners to actually go for a bigger team, a team that is more established with more training partners to try to have his goal to be a world champion one day or be like somebody in the jiu-jitsu world. I have absolutely zero problem with a kid like that. As long as he do the right way. He goes to his master, to his teacher, explain, be honest, be grateful, and do what you gotta do. This
Well,
is okay.
And a lot of times, if you're part of a big team, you can simply transfer to another school in that team,
Exactly.
right?
But this I think. And then I think everybody has the right to live his dreams and do that. You know? However, if you're in a team that you already have tons of great training partners, a team that has a jiu-jitsu that is up to date with among the best teams in the world in jiu-jitsu, You have results on this team. Okay? Why you do leave this team? If you want to go and train somebody else, like cross-train and check it out, another school or friend of yours, I don't have any problem with that. I never had.
Yeah.
People go all the time to other schools. They're like, "Oh, go man, go check it out. No problem. I don't have no problem." You know, but it's kind of like, why would you change something that is working and something that you have all this structure there? I don't get it. For example, guys that are world champions. They're world champions in bunch of titles, a bunch of world champions in a big team with a great master that taught them everything they know. And those guys that are already champions go to other teams that sometimes not even as good, just because of $50. I was saying Brazil $50 is kind of like that, because of like nothing, like peanuts. Then I don't get it, and doing wrong to the teams that they like, spitting on the face of everybody who helped them, who gave them technique, who gave them time, because man, most of the people who do that, they never paid one dime in their school.
Yeah.
Would you say that?
They're not the regular students, clients.
Would you say
there
that's
are
something
people
from
that
home?
there are people that were there and got all the attention, got all the technique, got all the care. These people are the ones that do that kind of thing. That's what makes me really sad. And this is something that I actually don't understand, but I don't judge. Whatever, people do that. I do judge. It's like this new word in English that I just learned. This thing called poaching.
Poaching.
Oh,
Yeah,
poaching.
yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Man,
A lot of that lately.
if somebody deliberately goes to a kid,
Yeah.
to a person from another team, to solicit them directly to go, especially if this kid has already results on the team that he comes from, I think this is not good. I think this is anti-ethical. If the kid leaves and comes, that's a different story. That's happened, that's fine. But if you go and recruit, man, you destroy a beautiful history of people that have like this relationship. And again, man, why they don't do this with a kid with no results? They only go to the ones that good results. Man, like the World Championships is funny nowadays. The podium area, there's a lot of those guys floating around.
Really?
Oh, shit.
Really?
And then they come like some kids come out like with their medals and go like, "Hey man, you did really good. What's your name?" Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's pretty sad.
There's one girl. This girl, I forgot her name. She's from Infight team. Infight is a team from Brazil. They have a lot of really tough kids. And Master Pitoco, Professor Rogério, they're all like friends of mine from childhood in the surfing scene. Nice people, amazing people. The team is big, but not that big. But there's a lot of champions from this team. And that's this girl she's wrecking house now, a brown belt. She won the Abu Dhabi World Pro in the brown and black. She wins world's weight and absolute as a brown belt. She's amazing, for her name. And last year, she won the worlds on the purple weight and absolute. When after she got her medal, she got approached by, I don't know how to say the names. She got approached by this professors, and she was with her professor. "Hey, you did amazing. What's your name?" "Oh, did great. Hey, look, by the way, who's this guy?" "Oh, he's my professor." "Oh, okay, how you doing, man?"
Who's
"My name
this
is
guy?"
this."
Who's this guy?
Yeah, like this.
guy?
And they're like, "Oh, hey, by the way, look, we want to offer you something really, really cool. You can come train at our school, which is like one of the best schools in the world. So you're going to learn great technique. We can organize sponsors for you. You're going to pay registration fees for tournaments on you and everything. And you know what? You're going to get better because you're going to be training with the best." She's a world champion, idiot. She just won training with this guy
With us, you'll be
on
glad.
that team.
Yeah.
So how can you say? You don't know. Maybe you're going to make her worse.
Would
You
you
know,
say
that is one thing that is disrespectful.
I think
Well, I'm
that-
glad this guy didn't do anything to me.
Especially right in front of the other professors.
Man,
I would have fucking punched him in the face.
this guy is a very nice guy. Because I said, if
Talking
that
for
thing
real.
happens to me, well, go ahead.
Yeah.
Would you say?
And I'm a nice guy, but I mean, we crossed the line, it's over.
Professor,
that's crossing the line.
Professor, I like to think of you like Patrick Swayze in Roadhouse, Dalton. Like, you're very nice until it's time to not be nice.
Until people start.
Yeah.
I kind of like, I
Yeah,
go 8 to 80.
You're very nice until it's time to not be nice.
Exactly, but that's bad. Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
On that time,
So,
with the guy in front of me, the people are losing the notion, and they're like, you
Would you
know,
say it's more prevalent now in the way jiu-jitsu has been going as far as results, and there's more money, of course, and
professionalism.
And look, just for the record, that situation, I wasn't there at the moment, but I was right after that guy, that professor came and talked to us. The guy was kind of like, he didn't know what to do, poor guy. He was kind of like, it just happened just like that. I was like, what, baby? What did you say? I didn't know. It was like, man, I was so...
So, Professor, you're both what were a very high-level athlete as well as a high-level coach, which is very rare. So, explain to the listeners, what's the value of building a relationship with a coach who not only understands your technique but also your mental state. Every athlete is different. Some athletes need to be hyped up. Some need to be calmed down. So, for the person who, what's the value of keeping the same coach for a very long time or your whole career?
Look at my life as a competitor. I always have the same coaches, the same professor. I'm not saying that you have to be all the life with one coach. Sometimes the coaches, I have to say the truth. Sometimes some people take advantage of the fact that the coaches or the professors to take advantage of the other kid. That's wrong too. You gotta be fair. If you're the professor, if you're the coach, you cannot exploit the other person just because you're in a position of hierarchy that you're more, that you owe me everything. No, this is wrong too. But man, there's a healthy relationship going on. Results are coming in. You're getting better. You guys, the persons like each other, understand each other, know each other deeply. Man, I think that's great. And nowadays I think more and more, what is the biggest difference between the champion and the tons of other tough guys under him? Who knows?
Mentality.
Yes, 100%.
And a coach that knows you for years is going to know how to deal with that,
100%. 100%.
Especially if he knows you and he's raised you.
That's what I'm saying.
This is the factor now that makes the difference between the huge super champions and the other amazing guys that could be champions, but they don't have the same.
Yeah, if you're in the world's macro level, everybody is good. I don't care.
Amazing.
I don't care if somebody gets beat in 10 seconds. Those people are good.
Everybody
Every single match
trains
is
really
tough.
hard.
They're all professionals.
Everybody knows all the techniques. Everybody's up to date with the techniques. Look at the internet nowadays. It used to be different in my time, but man, nowadays everybody's tough. Bro.
Yeah.
Everybody's super tough.
And not only that, it's a relationship.
Everybody's super athlete.
It's a relationship. It's the coach or the professor and the student, and they both gotta give.
Yeah.
Right.
Man,
And
the magic of the whole thing. Of course, I have to teach good jiu-jitsu, but the magic of the coaching thing and this relationship is that knowing the person, you know the right word to say in the right moment. That makes a huge difference, man.
It's kind of hard to learn someone else's voice in the heat of the moment too.
You
have a very distinct voice for
a lot of people say
works
that.
out well.
Well, but also, like, you've told me plenty of times that whenever you've had somebody in the corner for an MMA match, like, you have a very methodical way. You sit there, you wait for them to kind of catch their breath, you wait a little bit, and then you say what you need to say.
And man, like, some people, they need to be kind of like, hey, wake up, let's go. And other people, you need to calm down. There's like people that are naturally aggressive, there are people that are naturally like more afraid. So knowing the person, you know exactly what to say and what to do in a certain situations that will require that.
Knowing how to coach is actually part of it's like part of the fight camp. You have to prepare your coaching style from what.
And you have to be, for you to be a really, really good coach, you have to know the person.
And the student
Otherwise, it doesn't work.
The student has to be humble, right? There's times that we train and you tell me, hey, I got you because of this.
Yeah.
And in my head, I can probably think my ego's like, nah. But I'm like, no, yeah, he got me, right? Professor Brennan can tell me, hey, you're doing this. No one likes to be telling, hey, you don't know how to do something, but you need to accept and say, hey, this is the way it has to be.
Well, you have to realize that the coach is there for your best interest.
You have to believe.
The professor is there to try to help you, and he's going to tell you the things that you need to hear, not what you want to hear.
Correct. I want every single student of mine to be better than me.
Right.
I really want.
And that's what
because
we
if I don't want that, I'm not a real professional.
And that's what we talked about your kids. You want your kids to be better
Of course,
than you.
yes.
It's like a second family.
Well,
That's why the art evolves. That's why the art grows, because the generations that come are better than the generation before. That's how it should be. You know what I mean? If you hide knowledge, or if you don't want your students to be as good as you you should choose another profession. Not being a professor, not being a teacher. What kind of teacher are you? You want people to be worse than you? Get the heck out of here, you know?
And the good thing about once you get feedback, whether good, bad, and you learn to take it, it's something that you look for. For example, there's times that I'm unsure about this position,
Yeah.
and I accept, Professor, how do I do this? Or hey, how do I?
Yeah.
You learn to you humble yourself.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people who can't accept that, and those are the
I ask technique all the time for him, to Lucas, to everybody. But there's a lot of nobody knows everything jiu-jitsu.
Exactly.
You can never stop.
Impossible.
Exactly.
It's impossible. Impossible. A person who hides knowledge and thinks he knows everything jiu-jitsu is an idiot. Because it doesn't happen.
The problem is there's people out there like
Or an
that.
asshole, right? Yeah.
You know, that
Yes,
could be
man,
it too.
like jiu-jitsu is like life, man. There's all kinds of people. You know, great people, bad people, idiots, smart people. You know, there's nothing you can do.
It takes all types, right? Without
Well,
that,
okay. So
it's a good one.
speaking of all different kinds of people, there's something else I wanted to ask you here. So, training in a jiu-jitsu academy, it's a bit of a crazy dynamic. There's a lot of people, there's a lot of ego in there, and oftentimes people don't get along. People have arguments, people have beef, and you had a system in your academy in Bello where if people started if you got sick of hearing these people kind of fight or complain, you would make them have like a super fight.
Need a solution.
Okay?
I did this so many times.
So can you tell us about the general structure, and then without names, tell us about your favorite time.
In Brazil, this is something that the Gracies did. The Gracies always try to do this kind of healthy rivalry to push everybody to be better.
Okay.
So for example, like the family, there was like tons of kids and everybody tough. So he goes like, okay, but I think like the two standouts are, for example, Berto and Ricky. So that's today we're gonna find out who's number one. Civil War. But this was good because you kept the kids in shape and made them better,
Yeah.
So it's kind of the same thing I used to do in Bello. Now I kind of mellowed out a little bit, and I for sometimes like the cultural differences, I still do a lot of things in Brazil that I don't do here.
Yeah.
Because it's more accepted cultural there. Here no.
Can you give us a for instance?
We're still getting
Well, okay, I can tell you a quick.
Yeah.
I can tell you a quick story about things that he's done in Brazil that he doesn't do here.
Did we
This
hear
was
this first?
one of the most hilarious things I've ever seen in a training setting. So I'm in Brazil, and I'm staying with Professor, or not with Professor, but I'm there in Bello for a week.
Okay.
And you had just taught class, and you had to go somewhere. So you taught the lesson, and then you were like putting your shoes on, and you were going to leave.
Mhm.
And I think I had got there late, and I was kind of putting my gi on or whatever, and I was sitting down too. And everyone was already training already. And somebody made a noise. Somebody made kind of like a girl-sounding noise. Somebody went like that, right? I mean, they got caught in a weird position. They made a weird noise. And we were in a conversation, and you stop the conversation, and you go, what is that? Who made this noise? Right? So, really calling this person out, which I thought was hilarious. And everyone in the room, as well as the person who made the noise, thought it was hilarious too. I wish you would do this.
I kind of like that.
I wish you would do this kind of stuff,
I can't do
Professor.
that here.
Why? It's funny.
I would take it.
Because they're gonna be like, oh my God, he humiliated me in front of everybody.
Professor, the good
because
thing
I was,
We have Brandon here to fill that role for you, so it'll be all
No,
right.
but listen, this is different here.
Yeah.
We live in a country that has suffering culture. We have to abide the culture. I really think that. So we're here. That's how it is. That's how it is. We're gonna respect. Okay. In Brazil, is more. How can I say? A little more
Relaxed?
I would say relaxed, more aggressive.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier one of your first childhoods was named Big Head.
Yeah.
Oh,
was
Like, I mean, that's a
very
pretty
smart.
aggressive
His head is
nickname.
huge.
I know, obviously, I get that.
Go ahead.
That's a pretty
It's
aggressive
a very
nickname.
assertive nickname, yes.
So, without names, you don't want to call anybody out, but without names, can you tell us your favorite super fight in Academy story? Two people that got out of control, and you made them fight, and also two, did it work? Did they become friends after, or what happened? No names, but just...
Yeah, I
tell the
remember
story.
one time in my school, I put them to train no time limit, and I told them,
So
if you
let's-
guys get in a fist fight, I'll beat you both up.
What was the backstory? What had happened?
I think it was something related to a girl.
Okay.
I'm not gonna say anything anymore because they're gonna know.
Okay. Yeah, but nobody knows. Nobody knows.
But it was like one of those girls, man. It's not worth it
Sure.
to get in a fight with your
And so they
friend.
were just training kind of inappropriate. They would get out of control during training.
And then they almost got in a fight, and they said, I don't train this guy anymore, blah, 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 that kind of thing. I
Okay,
don't want
okay.
to train this guy anymore.
So you stepped in.
Blah, 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 and then stepped in and say, look, you guys train in the same school. You guys are really tough, both to each other. You guys used to be friends, and now because of a silly reason, I don't care about what went down. You two guys now will train. Time limit, no time limit, until one taps.
It's gi, no gi.
Gi.
Okay.
And if you guys get in a fight, you have a problem with me. Go.
Now this is during class or after class.
Doing class.
So
Everybody stop.
okay. So it's a legit super fight.
Yeah.
Everyone is
I did
watching.
this a bunch of times.
You did
Okay.
that here. You did that here. Not like that, but we had like a in.
Yeah, but in-house
We've had
tournaments are a bit
in-house
different.
tournaments.
That's
We've had
different.
yeah, but we've had like everybody sits down and then they just watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was like that. Like you have, I remember you.
I had the last.
That was the only super fight in the Americas,
Yeah.
in North
That's right.
America.
That's right.
And so
Yeah, I
what,
was too fresh for Brazil, so he got this thing.
what happened during that super fight? How long did it go?
Oh wow. That's a while.
10 minutes, 20
No,
minutes, an
no, it was
hour?
probably like more than 45 minutes.
And how did it
Holy
end?
shit.
They both gave
Good luck.
up? Okay, so it's a
Good luck.
submission.
Good luck.
And then
They
after
would have quit.
you made
I was there.
you said no.
Tap, but don't quit, man.
Yeah.
You tap.
And then after
Don't
that,
like, oh, enough now.
how were they after that?
Huh?
They were cool
They
after
cool
that?
after
or-
that?
Yes.
Their relationship was
That
They're
was
still
it.
really good friends.
awesome.
See, that's
Two and a half.
that's great. I think.
They both have families, kids.
That's great.
Professor Draculino keeping friendships together.
Hell
It's true.
Hell
It's true.
yeah.
They did it a bunch of times.
He's
Yeah,
a people,
but,
he's a
you
people
know,
person.
It's something that I learned, and it works, you know.
What do you think about the in-house super fights to determine who bows out? If you got two guys, same school, same.
Oh yeah,
division.
so this is legendary, Professor. You got to talk about this. I mean, this is something that used to happen with all the big teams. They would basically have an in-house tournament to see who was the varsity team, who was a JV team.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
every
yeah.
team would do this. So you got to tell us about some stories.
There
about
was a
this.
lot of like, I actually experienced that when I was a blue belt, like the first.
You had to go through this.
Yes, through a certain period of time. Gracie Muay Thai, as you guys know now, from the Grandmaster
Gracie.
Helio, from the Grandmaster Helio side, and us from Barra Gracie, from Gracie Barra, we're competing together in the same team as Gracie Jiu-jitsu.
Oh, when was this?
This was probably 1988, 1989.
Wow. Okay.
And I did probably 2 or 3 times, couple of times, this pre-tournament to
Yeah,
see who
yeah,
would
yeah.
represent the Gracie Academy. You know, and it was always us against Carson. It was always like, most of the time was us against Carson in the finals. But then like Jacaré, Master Jacaré Romero, like, which everybody knows as Alliance right now, they had really good
Alliance.
guys too. The main teams, when I was a blue belt, like the main tougher teams was, you know, Carson, us, Gracie Muay Thai, Romero Jacaré, the Jacaré Jiu-Jitsu used to be
Master
called.
team, right?
Bering Jiu-Jitsu, with Silvio Bering and Marcelo
Master.
Bering, and Osvaldo Alves team. Osvaldo
But
Alves really good.
Novignat was not around.
No.
Okay.
The guys from the suburbs in Rio were Munir, they have some tough guys too, but not on the level of this top 6. There was like a lot of tough guys on this, but in quantity there was always Carson and us, like in quantity of tough guys and going to tournaments, and then the Jacaré, like also started to get up there, you know. This is like late 80s, early 90s, you know. But a couple of times, yeah, I did that. And in Gracie Barra, on the...
And they would use the same competition rules?
Yeah, exactly the same thing.
Okay.
It was a tournament, pretty much a tournament, you know. And then like Gracie Barra had this format for a couple of years too, on like maybe 1996 all the way to 1999, 98. Used to be a big qualifier in Rio that people from all the Gracie Barras would come. But then eventually Gracie Barra grew so much, there's so many tough people all over the place that it just got impractical. So it's pretty much people choosing, like the professors talking, choosing. That's how pretty much how it is still to this day, you know.
Was there always that rule set up so that like that there would be like a limited amount of students that actually gain points?
Yes, there's always two people to represent.
Two
for
per
the
weight
team.
class,
Two
right?
per weight class.
Two per
yes.
weight class. So it's always
Two per
been
weight
like
class.
that.
Yeah, in the biggest tournaments, yes.
Okay, that's interesting.
I was always like that.
Yeah, a lot of people I don't think know that.
No, they don't know that.
Yeah, there's some
Yeah.
people compete on the main team, some people compete on. Well, it's a system set up so that large schools
And a
can
lot
just
of times
overpower
it's
smaller
not, no,
schools.
and
Well, you want
also,
the best person to win.
yeah,
Kinda how it is.
and also sometimes it doesn't matter like if somebody's from the main team, the varsity team, whatever we're going to call it, and the other person who's not on that team is the best or not. Sometimes like people separate by, oh, this guy's trained together. So we cannot put one guy that trained together with another guy that trained together in different teams and maybe go in the first match against each other.
Yeah.
That's not cool, you know.
Yeah.
So that's have to take this in consideration too.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so a team I mentioned before, Novanyao.
Mhm.
There's two guys that run that team, Professor Andre Pederneiras and
Wendell
Wendell Alexander.
Yeah, Wendell
right?
Alexander, yes.
Now, I'm not 100% sure, but I think the Wendell Alexander, he came from...
He comes from Fada.
That's
village.
right. So
Yeah.
this is kind of a non-Gracie
No.
lineage.
It's from Fada, comes from more like...
Can you just kind of go into that a little bit?
yeah, the thing is that we used to compete a lot. The Fada guys, they were kind of more from the suburbs of Rio.
So who is this Fada? Who's that?
Fada is a master that learned also Jiu-jitsu, but from a different Japanese master.
So not from
Mitsuyo
Maeda.
Somebody that learned from Maeda taught him.
Okay.
I don't know exactly the name.
And he's from Rio.
I think Ono. Japanese called Ono. That was in Brazil for a while. I thought this guy's from this kind of like side. They're great too. I mean,
Yeah.
GF team comes from this.
Sure, yeah.
They're amazing, you
yeah,
know.
Yeah.
And I remember we used to compete against them, and we were like overall technically a little better than them back in the day. I was everything the same.
Yeah.
Like, GF team has like some of the best guys for a while.
Adolfo Vieira comes from there.
But they're really good on footlocks.
Okay.
They're always really good on footlocks. And it's funny story that before people used to kind of boo to footlocks
Yeah.
because it's kind of considered cheating.
More so than guard pulling?
It's kind of like more. Like
Yeah.
footlock was like kind of like, oh, this guy don't know how to pass the guard.
Oh, shit.
He's like a lazy guy. that
That's
just
sort
goes-
of going on today, right? I mean, a little bit. Some guys who only do footlocks
Yeah.
don't pass the guard, right?
Yeah.
I mean, a footlocks is a technique just as any other technique. You know, it's just like what I don't agree is that the guy thinks, oh, I only think I need to train his footlock because it's easy to do and very effective. I think eventually they're gonna get exposed, you know. But I mean, you have to learn the footlock game, of course. You know, it's not that. But then it changed. Like it used to be, people used to get booed. Like people would go for footlocks to mid '90s, they would get booed for sure.
Yeah, it seems like
Everybody was going for footlocks with booed for sure.
The changing point
100%.
seemed to be maybe, I think, when Comprido, he beat...
That was before. You know what changed this whole thing?
Huh.
ADCC.
Okay.
When did that
When
come?
the ADCC started in '98, that people used to go there and train more no gi and do like and needed to train footlocks to get defenses and to get against the sambo guys.
Yeah.
The sambo guys were getting jiu-jitsu guys like because they're not ready for the things. That's when people started to see footlock as a regular technique that it should be, you know. But there was a little bit of prejudice, you know, before.
Didn't they have a special nickname for people who only went for footlocks?
Zapatero. Zapatero means shoemaker.
Yeah. That's
Zapatero.
I love
They
that.
used to say, like, sai daí, Zapatero. Like, kind of like Zapatero is like mean like a guy who cheats or a guy who's like
A sleazy guy.
like a Dirty game.
Yeah, I feel bad for the real shoemakers out there. Like, man, what are we doing, man? We're just keeping your feet safe.
I know.
Milagros.
So I actually, while we have a quick break, I have a reader or listener submitted question. What kind of something they want you to discuss? Deandra McClure is asking. Deandra McClure.
Okay.
Is asking for a couple of stories concerning promotions of your students. Some of your best belt promotion stories that you've given to your students, or any special ones that you've seen come to mind.
Those men, I have under me directly, under my students, over 1,000 black belts right now.
Yeah.
And black belt is always a special moment, and like if everybody who got the black belt with us really deserves, every single one of them. We have like people, have this saying in Brazil that's kind of like a little extreme, but it's kind of like, like a joke, is that people prefer to sell their moms than give a fake black belt. Because you take it really serious,
Right.
Of course, it's exaggeration. But
It's an aggressive sense of humor. We love it.
yeah, but then the ones that come into my mind for black belts are the black belts that I gave to people who passed away, and they were about to get, or they just got it, and the one that comes into mind was Thiago.
Yes, sir. I was going to say that. Professor Thiago.
Thiago was living here with us, amazing kid, really happy here. He was living in my house for almost a year. We got his work visa done. He was super happy, and then he found out he had cancer. I remember that when he went to Brazil to get his visa renewed and everything, I told him, man, actually, we should go to the doctor because you snore so loud and you have like all the time this kind of thing. So go check. Maybe
It's like a sinus thing, right?
Yeah, it was sinusitis. His voice was getting different. And sure enough, went there. The specialist saw there was something wrong. They sent him to oncologist. They got the biopsy. Sure enough, it was a very aggressive cancer. After that, 6 months later, he died. And then I remember he was there. He didn't have health insurance. I paid for his surgery. I went there, met him, and then he was in pretty bad shape. And it was in December. And then I didn't have a lot of money, and it was a really expensive ticket. But I said, I need to go there. Something's telling me to go there, and I went there. I took a flight from here and went to Brazil. Me, my wife, my kids. And we went to visit him. And I remember when I went inside that hospital, it was really, really, really tough and bad. He couldn't talk. He was with this open, only getting everything through, I don't know how to say it.
The feeding tube?
Tracheotomy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Tracheotomy, that's the word. And then when I got there, with all the medicine, all the chemotherapy, he was like already, in a pretty bad shape. But now I went inside. Me and my wife, Monica, went inside, and he looked at us, and he started crying, and I cried a lot too. And I didn't know what to say, just hug him and stay there. And then we talked, and then I started to crack some jokes. I like to do that in situations like that. And then it was like better vibe, and then I gave him the black belt.
I remember seeing that picture.
Yeah, the
Big
picture-
smile on his face.
Picture is
Yeah.
smiling, and he's got his black belt on.
And then I gave him the black belt. 2 days later, he died. And I didn't. He was getting the black belt.
Yeah, of course.
Anyway,
He was flying armor.
I didn't give him out of because I was sad for him because the situation was sad. No,
He was a black belt.
he was.
If anybody's seen some of the old Gracie Baja, Texas footage on YouTube, and you see a brown belt just flying, triangling people on
Flying
the ground,
triangles on
flying
bars,
armbar,
everything.
That's
Well,
him.
and you know what?
His
Very
picture's
aggressive
still
kid.
hanging up.
Yeah.
I have the picture there.
Yes,
He
picture's
had
still there.
Amazing kid.
I trained with him. We used to do private lessons.
Yeah.
You would bring him to train with me, and I remember two things specifically. He always had a smile on his face,
Always.
Yeah.
and he always had an old blotter for anybody who
old
wanted
blotter.
one. I mean, he always had one.
And
You know
if
what
he
I
didn't
mean?
want one, he'd give
Yeah,
you one.
he had it. If you wanted one, he was there to give it to you.
Man,
you know?
he was just not just a great guy and positive. He was like good on jiu-jitsu, and he was an amazing human being overall.
He really was.
I'm not even saying just because he passed away. He was an amazing kid. It was a tough loss, let me tell you this.
Absolutely.
They say that, you know, like God takes the good ones first. I don't know. It was the case. I don't know. So many bad people to go, but it's His will.
The good die
That's
young.
what it-
That's what they say. The good die young.
That's what
How
Billy Joel
have to
says.
change that, you know?
What?
That's what Billy Joel says.
Yeah, well, he's an authority.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's an authority. So, Professor, let's keep the controversy going here. You know, let's get deep. You know what I mean? We talked before about.
That's the second or the third?
You know, that's the second. That's the second. You know, we talked before. You know,
It's this one you gotta worry
any
about.
questions we can't ask, and you're like, you know what? Let's do it. So.
Open game.
Open game. So, you know, there's a lot of people saying, talking about I mean, these. I'm going to date myself a little bit here because these aren't really the new techniques coming out now, but they were new a couple of years ago, and there's some debate about, you know, who created these techniques, who started them, and so, you know, you have some techniques called the marimbola, you have techniques called the leg drag, and, you know, a lot of people are claiming that they made these techniques up. But, you know, maybe you have a different opinion about that. You know, I know you have some students that specialize in those techniques as well.
The modern berimbolo out of double guard pull going to the back, there is no question. It's a fact. The first one to do that was Samuel Braga, my student. In 2005, he did that on the semifinals and finals of the World Championships. You know, that's a fact. People modernized, made it with a little more details and whatever. But the first one to do the way it's done now was Samuel Braga. And I challenge somebody to say that did before. There may be some variations.
I think there was
maybe some like some other ways, but not the double shoulder roll and going grabbing the leg and all that stuff. The modern way, it was Samuel Braga.
And what about Homolo, the leg drag?
Homolo was. I never saw it before until training, seeing him in training. Nobody else doing it than him. He was the first one that I saw in the school as a brown belt already doing this thing.
Well,
and I'm not saying, I mean, they're doing a bunch of different ways now, but I mean the idea of getting the other leg, the opposite leg of the De La Riva hook, to put it together and pass, it was him.
And what year was that? 2004? Actually, 2008, right?
The leg drag thing.
2007, 8.
I can't remember exactly. I know Samuel's been doing the berimbolo before 2005, but he showed to the world in 2005, 2004, 2005. It was when Samuel was world champion. He was world champion like a couple of times. The black belt. When he was a world champion as a rooster.
He won rooster, and he won like that too.
2003 or 5. Anyway, it was early 2000s. Yeah.
You know, it's the evolution of the technique, right? Anytime somebody creates a move or does something, you know, the people behind are going to make it, you know, better, more complete.
Well, I think too, you know, what happened with, obviously we're talking about the Mendez brothers here, like, you know, what happened there is that, you know, Professor Samuel using the berimbolo, Professor Homolo using the leg drag, but then you had the Mendez brothers came in, and that was like the cornerstone to their jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Whereas Professor Homolo, Professor Samuel, you know, not
the one of the many things.
That's right. They had many other things that they would do, and the berimbolo and the leg drag were simply part of that
Look,
game they did.
There's no questions that they made it popular.
Sure. Sure.
And that's huge.
That's huge.
That's huge.
And they developed a whole style around it.
And a system around it. They are brilliant on that.
Yeah.
There's no questions around it. But then to say that they invented, I think, is a little bit of a stretch.
But even just the De La Riva, going to the back from the De La Riva, that's been long established. There's a lot of video of you just hooking the leg over and kicking legs out, and people
There's a video of me.
I was gonna bring this up.
The kiss of the dragon.
I was gonna bring this up.
People say the kiss of the dragon.
Loves that name.
The kiss of the dragon. People say that reverse De La Riva to the back, or at least going under the legs and trying to get a reversal. There's a match of mine on YouTube that I did this in 1998.
The going in between the legs from the closed guard has been around forever.
Yes.
That's been around for a very long time. I remember learning this as well. I mean,
you just told Professor Brennan not to say the name, right?
No, I wouldn't say it. He told Professor Lucas not to say it.
Oh, right.
I just call it the inside term. I refuse
Don't
to
say
use
the
his
name.
names too.
He saw the drag.
It sounds better in Portuguese.
Beijo do
Basically,
Draco.
they're going.
Maybe.
Quick thing, Professor.
Butcher job.
If there were a few things you can change of jiu-jitsu today that you can change, either take it back or evolve from today, what would it be? And it could be technique, it could be rules, it could be the way teams are set up, it could be whatever. What changes would you make in jiu-jitsu?
I think it's evolving the way you would normally evolve. I just wish that we could go back a little bit more to jiu-jitsu being a little bit closer to a real fight.
Right.
And it's tough because people get hurt, but I think it would be a little more entertaining. It's hard to find the balance there. I think that should be something that will bring a little more attention from the other audience that we don't have. We have a huge audience now.
The non-jiu-jitsu
There's a lot of people that will need to come to jiu-jitsu. You want those people to come. Sponsors and more practitioners and fans and everything. I think that, and I think a little bit more also of the samurai code. Not something crazy or like suicidal or radical or code kind of like, but a little more respect, you know?
It's some discipline and some tough love.
Yeah. You know what I think? I think nowadays it's like that. We live in a civilized world. And it's amazing that this happened. There's order. There's courts. People cannot do whatever they want. But I think that nowadays a lot of people are getting a point of talking so much bad stuff about others. Publicly, sometimes in front of the other person, because they're not getting accountable for they cannot get, they know that if they're gonna get accountable, if somebody really gets an extreme of calling them what they think, or even punch them on the face or get in a fight with them, they're gonna get sued, they're gonna get ruined publicly. So people are getting to the extremes, like on trash talk and on disrespecting people. That man, in our time, that didn't happen.
Masvidal,
Because if you did,
Ben Askren.
you could do. Some people did, but they're backing. They talk crap, they just like that. Talk crap, but if you come towards me, you're gonna get in a fight. I'll beat you up.
And they truly believe
That's
that. And if you truly believe it and you're willing to go, I
That's
respect
different.
it.
But nowadays you have people who knows that they cannot beat
Correct.
you up.
Professor.
There are people who cannot be slapped on the face, they cry.
No.
And they talk a lot of crap because they know they're gonna have to you.
I
You know what I mean?
read the interview of Masvidal after the Ben Askren fight. He was like, man, the guy was talking shit about me, my family, my
Yeah,
kids,
yeah.
and that's okay because it's before the fight. But
Yeah,
now
after the fight,
I can
yeah.
showboat now that I beat his ass. And it's like, that's bullshit. I love that he said, if I see him at Whole Foods, we still got problems.
slap him
Still
up.
slap him up.
That's
true.
that's what I think too.
No, it's
if
true.
you cross the line talking to hype a match, it's okay. But I still think that certain lines cannot be crossed.
Yes.
It can't be crossed. And even within those lines to hype a match or to do something, you should be accountable to what you say. If you say something really bad about somebody, you get ready for the consequences. And these consequences can be dealt in a very different way, depending on who the person is and where the person is. A lot of people talk really big here. It's an amazing country that has laws, and thank God for that. But these same people wouldn't do the same thing in other countries such as Brazil. I know for a fact. Brazil's changing now. But, so they don't say it. Or if they say it, they back it up. It's kind of like, bring it on. I said it, and bring it on.
I was impressed too. I mentioned to you today in class about Ben Askren. He did a interview today with Ariel Helwani, and
He's a tough guy, man.
You know what?
He's a really
He
tough guy.
completely. He said, he goes, look, I got beat.
That's it.
that. And he said, Ariel Helwani pressed him about like, what did you think about Masvidal's comments about in the post fight or his punches after the fight? And he goes, man, it's all part of the game. I get it. I ran my mouth. I did this.
I ran my mouth.
I get it. You know what I mean?
I brought it what was deserved.
Yeah, Helwani says, are you going to...
He's a real man to say
Yeah, he
that.
says, are you going to...
Because other people would say like, you see what he did?
Yeah,
He punched me after he knocked me out. I'll press some charges.
He said,
Come on, man.
are you
know what I mean?
He asked, are you going to change?
lame.
Are you going to
know?
change now that this happened? And he goes, no, I know what I was getting into from day one. You know, I'm there to hype the fight, and I realized there are repercussions for the way that I talk.
Yeah.
And he goes, I'm surprised it hadn't happened sooner.
And it's like
He
somebody.
said, I've been talking shit for a decade, is what he said.
Whether it's
So,
MMA
that's
or
it.
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu, someone who's an asshole, let's say they're an asshole, and they back it up, and then he, at the end of the day, if he doesn't care, he's like, I'm a fucking asshole,
Yeah.
then I respect that.
Well,
Yeah,
you know what I
respect-
think, Professor, what do you think if we change the law, okay, everybody gets one open hand slap, no questions asked?
I like that rule.
I think that would change the game.
I think people, I mean, it's would shut
A
up.
lot of the
Just shut up.
A lot of the guys who talk crap now wouldn't do it.
Yeah. You get,
A lot would do it because they're men enough.
yeah.
Like you said, they are who they are. Yeah, whatever.
Well, I'll tell you what,
respect
Professor,
that.
I went to Brazil in 2011, and I went to a few schools, and it's like you said, it was like...
Oh, so you're just jumping around? Trianchi.
I'm not, no.
Does
Professor
No,
know about
There's
this?
some water there.
Trianchi.
So I went to
Professor, I
school-
apologize for having this here. I'm sorry. I didn't know this.
No. So what I
Look at
They're
this.
bringing black belts in, right?
No, it's
Everybody
a drink.
drinking
It's
beer
a drink.
except Isai.
No, that's vodka right there.
That's
Straight kilos and high C, baby.
That's
That's cachaça and lime juice.
So quick story. I went with a few training buddies, and we saw these guys grappling. Pretty much, it was like a fight.
Yeah.
These guys bleeding by the nose, and I just remember first day we'd just been like an hour or two. I looked to him like, oh shit. But guess what? We got in there, and I had to culturally adapt or get out.
Yeah.
And so it's the same thing here, right?
Same thing here, man. We gotta adapt, and you know what, man? I think it's better. Like, thank you, sir. It's better like that, civilized, than chaotic. In all honesty.
Well, there's pluses and
always
minuses
the
to both.
collateral, you know. But
You know
I
what I
mean,
mean?
I just think that, I mean, we don't need to be monks. Oh, we can curse. Oh, we cannot hype a match. You cannot say like, man, I think you suck. I think the guy that you do, I pass all day. I think I call your God like an avenue because everybody passes through. You know? This is okay. You know, your jiu-jitsu is hard, but it's okay. But people's wife,
family and yeah.
people's kids. Man, I saw a guy like talking one time about the kid of the other guy that had like problems.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah, you know, you're like that. That's why I have a kid with a problem. You deserve that. Come on, man.
You can't say that.
This is like the reason the guy to get killed. Honestly.
Yeah.
You know what I
win
mean?
that fight, but that parking lot battle's gonna be tough.
Well, you know what? I don't understand this. Is like, you know, we've all competed here, right? And you know, when the match starts, you shake hands. When the match is over, you shake hands, right?
Yep.
That's your obligation as a competitor, as a sportsman. If you're in a small division and you lose, you got to go to the podium.
Oh yeah.
So it looks like, so people know that there's other people competing there, right? That's part of your obligation as a sportsman. However, I think it ends there. I don't think you have to be best friends with everybody you compete against. And I don't understand this mentality of you need to give each other hugs every round, and you need to high five after the match, and you got to love everybody. I don't understand that. Professor, what do you
It's
think?
a
about
combat
that?
sport.
Exactly.
You don't have to accept Facebook.
We're pretty much going there to beat each other up, to try to choke each other out, to try to stretch other arms out in a fair way, within the rules, in an honorable way. But it's a combat sport. You know, I never dealt well competing or fighting against somebody that I liked personally. Never liked it. Let me see.
Try to separate
A
that.
little bit of like, very few times I competed against people that I really didn't like or I really had like this heat going on.
Can
Most
you
of the
remember
time.
one of those times, Professor, and share it with us?
It's
You don't
probably hard.
got to use names.
And it's
I mean,
probably
just-
hard to compete well when you really don't like someone, right?
Well,
I mean,
There was a couple of times I guess against some bad people that was, I do talk crap about me, they're fake and yeah.
I guess it would depend on the person because some people get really motivated when you have somebody that's been talking shit about
Yeah, it
you.
depends on the
And
person.
some
It
people,
depends.
some people the mind
I mean,
get
I
clouded.
personally don't do well if I don't, because you just want to like, you know, and it just gets you out of your
I like
head.
to have a little bit of what's the word? So I don't.
Go ahead.
Like animosity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't need to be hate. Hate's not good
That
too.
makes it easier.
Hate is bad.
Yeah.
Hate's always bad.
Well, because it can cloud your mind and your
Yeah.
judgment.
Yeah.
Your emotions.
You just gotta not like the person, like me and he said.
I had a rivalry with many people, and there was people that I competed against that we went back and forth. I won some, they won some. There were people that I competed against that I always beat them and they never beat me. And there were people that I competed against that I never beat them and they always beat me. And I remember there was a time after a tournament, and this person came over to me, and he was kind of a rival.
Any names?
You told me.
No, I'm not going to have any names.
No names.
Well, you know what? I mean, I respect the person as a sportsman, but I don't care for him. But he came over, and he was asking me we were in different weight divisions, and he asked me about my match, and I was like, it just very short. I was like, it was great, I won, whatever, you know. And he's like, hey, what's wrong? I'm like, I don't like you. That's what I said. And he goes, well, yeah, I get it. You know, we're competing against each other sometimes, but we're not always going to be like that. Like, you should come to my school and train, you know. And I'm like,
I don't want to.
that's never going to happen, ever, you know. And so, did you ever have I mean, can you tell us about a time where you just really didn't like somebody? Yeah, you don't got to say any names. Just kind of tell us a story about.
You can. But you don't have to.
Yeah, you're welcome to say names, but you don't have to do
I don't want the restrictions to be put there.
Was there any time you got to the match, you know, you beat the guy, and then after the match you're still like, no, I don't like you?
I don't think not that much that I did not like them.
Normally you worked it out.
People that I competed, like, it was a little bit of animosity.
Well, you always have respect for them. You always do.
Always had respect.
I do too.
I always had respect. I don't think I ever faced somebody that I really despised.
Yeah.
But you said you had people that were like talking shit about you.
Yeah, that
prior
happened
to the
before,
tournament.
yes. Like
talking shit about your jiu-jitsu, or
not in my face,
personally?
talking bad, like around my back, and
But if you beat him, doesn't that just say
talking in front of a lot of
That's
people?
almost the best.
Before there was no social media.
there wasn't internet.
There was
Beat 'em and
nothing.
thank 'em
There
for the
was no
opportunity.
cell phones or nothing. It was like a
Rumors.
bunch of people.
Your
people
voice
here,
ends
yeah.
right there. Your
Rumors.
voice. And my question: do you feel that the martial art way, in a sense, has gone away a little bit? And what I mean by this is, you know, I come out of the mat and I learned a certain way, you know. And even my son, when I have him get on the mat, I have him go to everyone. You know, if he comes in late, you know,
But this is the most samurai 4-year-old.
Yeah, he got the best technical stand-up at the school.
he has to shake everybody's hand, and you know,
I think this is really cool. I think it's very educational. I just think that we live in a world now, in the modern world, that it has to be, you can never cross the line too much to make the thing is kind of like in a cult. Like you really need to do that. If you don't do that, man, shame on you, that kind of thing. I think Jiu-Jitsu is always a little more relaxed.
Yeah.
Of course, certain rules have to be in place. I mean, certain formats of things have to be in place. But I think forcing too much a situation, forcing something to oh, it has to be this way. You know, oh, you touched the wall, shame on you. No, it's too much. You know what I mean? I think it has to be a balance. It has to be respectful, nice. I think respect is the word is respect.
So I'm saying, has the respect gone away a little bit?
A little bit.
You think?
Oh, yeah.
And what?
Because there's no repercussions. That's why.
So I have a question for you. And if you don't want to answer this, mat etiquette. Do you see it more so here in the States or down in Brazil? I mean, obviously you guys
like the parents?
No.
No.
We're not going to get into that topic today, buddy. No, the mat etiquette. Obviously, you know, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is.
In Brazil is more relaxed.
Okay.
In Brazil is more relaxed.
It's been around a lot more long.
Yeah.
We have like 40
But
we started to bow like Japanese style
Right.
when I came to America.
Really?
There was no bow.
There was no bowing?
No,
Really?
because
High
it was
five, come on,
no, because the Gracies used to say before in the past, like, we're not gonna bow because you're not Japanese.
Yeah.
How do you do when you see each other in the street? Shake my hand. Hey, how you doing? That's how we're gonna talk to each other.
So did you guys end class and then just
Japanese, when they see each other,
Yes.
It's normal.
It's a very formal culture.
Well,
I think one thing that
so bow is kind of like for us, coming from the Gracie side of Jiu-Jitsu, it's something more.
It's more new school.
More new school, yes.
Hey, Professor, I
love it though. Now I bow even to my carpet.
I bow when I go into an elevator.
Anytime you change surfaces,
Yeah, anytime you
I bow too.
When I change surface, I bow.
Soft to a hard surface.
Yeah, always.
I bow.
You just
to
like
bow
that,
straight.
just-
You bowed coming into the studio.
I did.
Dude, I thought when I went to Oliver's house the other day, I was like,
It was true.
Anytime you change
amazing.
surface, you do
I
it.
felt good about it.
Professor, I think one of the main. I think one of the things that I think a lot of people, especially if you started jiu-jitsu a little bit time ago, I think a lot of the things that people liked was, one, it was realistic. You were training hard, and two, it was less formal than a lot of other martial arts.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you didn't have to go in and learn 100 katas before you were
yeah.
able to spar
Definitely,
or whatever.
definitely.
And so I think that
That attract a lot.
yeah, I think it's good that Jiu-Jitsu has. I mean, you need some formality. You need graduation order, I think, and you need you need a hierarchy, and that's part of the system. You got to work your way up, But at the same time, I think that's one thing that people should preserve in the martial art is that it is a bit more relaxed. It is real.
It is.
And I think that's a big appeal to a lot of people.
Yeah,
What
that's
do you
right. That's
think?
why
What do you
it's
think?
blowing up. I think this is blowing up because it has this cool balance, I mean, here I think it's perfect, man. I think the format here in America is perfect. It's traditional, has order. There's order. The format that Gracie Barra does. I mean, I think it's really cool.
I still want to hear if someone makes a crazy sound. You have to.
Professor Allen, that was hilarious.
No.
You know what? I mean,
We need one of those.
I really.
If it's a Brazilian guy in here, I'll do it.
Oh, I really can't capture the moment of what happened at that time. It was so hilarious, man. I mean, the guy made it sound like, and then Professor goes, what? I mean, do you remember this at all or no? It's a normal day for you. It's a normal day for you.
Man, wow. We're here forever.
But one last thing. One thing that I've noticed is as time has gone by, jiu-jitsu's training has been a little safer, right? Because, man, I remember starting out.
Well, it got more technical.
It's more technical, and it's not.
And you learn from the mistakes,
Yeah,
too, from how to direct the training. Yeah,
and coaches realize, hey,
Thank
this
God,
guy
it's
may
good.
not be doing good. Hey, your neck is messed up.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, there's days today I feel like a 90-year-old man, and and it's because
you feel like a piece of wood.
Yeah.
exactly
Seriously, yeah, really. You like a piece of wood.
And there's times you'll ask me, hey, you all right? I'm like, yeah, I'm okay, and it's like, but I won't stop because I'm gonna let him do what he needs to do.
Man, I had a bad night tonight. I was training. I wasn't feeling it. I just sat out. I didn't feel like training, man. I got in there and I was doing it, and then I was kind of like, you know what? I don't feel like it. You know what I mean? So it kind of happens, like you get in there and you're not warmed up, or you had 8 cups of coffee or something, and you're all hyped up. And
everybody can have an off day.
yeah, I think people need to hear that sometimes.
Everybody will have an off.
Yeah, sometimes you just don't feel like it.
Well, what I'm
Or
saying
something's
is
hurting or whatever.
What I'm saying is that the guys coming up now, the young, especially the young guys coming up now, really have they're lucky, man. They're training in a safer environment.
Yeah.
Culturally,
It's
more technical, right? You have coaches and professors
More
looking out for the
structured.
best structured, the best interest in them to be better than them. Then maybe a few years ago, 10, 15 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, it may have been a little different, right?
Yeah. Well, you didn't have the resources back then as well.
Right.
I mean, now
Things evolve,
Yeah.
and they evolve for the best. Actually, it can be like think about the past and say, the past, blah blah blah. But it changed for the best.
think about it. Speaking about evolution, so I'm not sure if you've seen this recently, but now there is a bare-knuckle boxing organization.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's pretty cool, actually. I
Man,
think it's really neat.
that guy, Lobov, right? Is his name?
Art Lobov.
What's his name?
Art
Yeah.
That guy's tough, man.
Now what?
Russian
Look, his face knows his stuff.
Russian hammer.
So if they're having a bare-knuckle boxing, right? What do you think the possibility of them kind of restarting bare-knuckle MMA, and are you in or are you in favor of that? How does it change?
It's a very pure form of combat, which would change a lot the game.
How?
If that came back.
How?
For example, punches.
The grappling has
People
techniques.
you wouldn't see that many knockouts anymore, for sure.
You're not gonna see haymakers.
For sure.
You may see a lot more elbows.
Because you would see more cuts, so people would fight differently.
Mhm.
You would see a lot of broken hands. If people fight the same way they fight now, they couldn't do it. They break their hands like instantly.
Do you think
You know?
fighting bare knuckle is, I mean, this is kind of a ridiculous question, I'm just going to ask you, is it more realistic or less realistic? If you're trying to figure out the best fighting style, is that more realistic or less
Of course,
realistic?
it's more realistic. If you're in the street and somebody say, "What's up?" You're gonna put your gloves.
Sure, exactly.
If somebody pulls some gloves on me, you'd have to turn around.
I think it's more. I think it's more realistic, but like we said
always
before,
wanted to
it's safe,
hang out.
we're gonna play it the safer way, right? I mean, it's more of a sport right now. It's like judo, right? They
It's
changed the
sports,
rules.
and that's okay. That's totally okay. It's an amazing sport. People are making a lot of money. Everybody's happy. That's fine, you know. But
If you were to fight again, would you want to do it with MMA gloves or bare knuckle?
bare knuckle.
Bare knuckle. Why?
For me, it's better. I'm a grappler.
Did you have to measure your punches more
You
whenever
know,
you were
choke
bare knuckle?
easier.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not gonna try to like throw like punches like with all my power. I mean, if I mounted, maybe, yeah, but I mean, not like the way that it is today. I would fight differently. I think for a grappler, bare knuckle was better. I really
Because you
think
can't
that.
unload on that.
Well, it's easier to get submissions, get in the neck. I mean,
Easier to get submissions, you
yeah,
know, like
so-
more dexterity.
You have the feeling of
If you
the
haven't been in a
tips.
fight, like my hands are twice the size. 'Cause
Yeah.
We have
Yeah,
a
it's
cast
totally
on.
different.
We have a cast on, and
Yeah.
then after that we put on the gloves, and the gloves are already big too.
Man, it gets like a minimum 2 hands.
Yeah.
Feels like
So
a rocket.
what-
It's a totally different game.
What do you think about this? We've talked about this before, and I've said it many, many times. I think it's kind of ridiculous. So in MMA right now, if there's no action on the ground, they stand it up.
Oh, I love this.
Now, what do you think about if there's no action on the feet, they put it on the ground?
I agree. Because why so only the grappling part is boring?
Exactly.
I see a lot of really, really boring fights,
Striking.
MMA fights, striking. They're kind of like,
Nothing.
move around,
Nothing.
move the head.
I think it's because they have the boxing.
And then
They're not. Well, they're not
What,
engaging.
what about if you end the round
This happens-
on the ground, you start the next round on the ground?
Yeah, that's interesting
was-
too.
You know what I mean?
Because you know what, like I mean, and Professor, I want to hear you on this. You know, like we've talked about before, but like, you know, if a jitsu guy loses, the next day in the news, it's always this: is jitsu dead? Always.
Oh,
is
yeah.
jitsu dead in MMA? Now, if a
And then when we win-
kickboxer gets submitted, there is no headline: is kickboxing dead?
Nothing.
But what do you think about the bias towards strikers in MMA?
It's because it sells more. We have to
The uneducated can understand.
people are not
striking.
educated. A lot of the guys that drink beer in a bar and look and go like, hey, and all that, they understand that crazy bra standing up.
Some of those people are here in
They-
this room right now.
Everybody's a knockout artist.
They appreciate it. So this sells more. It makes more money to the promoters, so the promoters will push more for that.
Yeah.
That's simple mathematics.
Boxing's $1 billion sport. Jiu-jitsu has not hit that yet.
That's why one of the things about jiu-jitsu is you have to be educated, right? It's easy for
We're
a
not there
guy.
yet.
It's easy for a guy that has never trained a single fucking day in his life to look at a boxing, kickboxing, MMA fight and understand what's happening.
Yeah.
But like, this
Yeah.
happened at the Third Coast Grappling. We have blue belts under us that they flat out told me, they're like, yeah, some of the times I didn't even know what happened. I was like, yo, what happened? He's like, oh, I don't know. He just scored 2 points. So it's like even people that train don't understand the
It's more
system.
complex.
So you need to educate yourself. If you go to Japan and you see the one or back when they had a Pride, it hit the ground. People were quiet.
People liked it.
They're
People
paying
like it a
attention.
lot. Man,
Yeah.
people would say like, whoa.
Yeah,
When
yeah,
people
yeah,
pass the
sweet.
guard,
Yeah.
they pass the guard, people, whoa.
Yeah, they're more educated.
Yeah.
I also like the fighter entrances in Japan.
And the 10-minute first
Oh,
round.
You have a lot of
I
fighter
love the 10
dancing.
minute. I love the 10-minute first round.
That was so cool. That was amazing.
Another thing,
Good time.
you even saw it at Third Coast when you had Johnny Boy match.
Oh,
Everybody was silent. I mean, everybody knew what was going on, right? So
That was a
Yeah,
great
well,
match.
yeah,
That was a great
match.
Well,
Johnny Boy's the man.
that was an amazing
He
match.
puts it
Johnny
out
Boy,
there.
man. Johnny Boy's different level.
And I'll tell you another match that was amazing that
He did great.
that surprised me too was Jim. Bill?
That was a match. That
It was a great match.
I know I
We've
said it
talked to you about
wrong.
this.
I know, and he talked to me before about it, and I still said
Jim
it wrong.
had beat the guy before.
He was
Yeah.
up 9-0.
And then there was up to 9-0, and then the guy
It was
came back.
like
It was
a
amazing.
clinic. It was amazing.
It was amazing.
I was
It
excited
amazing.
about both those fights.
It was really amazing.
Yeah, I remember I had just changed out. I had just
Yeah.
taken a shower. I came, I saw, I was like, oh, Jim's winning. Cool. I'm going to go put my shoes on.
Man, it was amazing. I think it was like 9-0 or 10-0.
And then
I think it was a little bit more.
13 to 9 or something.
Yeah,
I think,
Yeah,
it was,
to 9,
I think I saw 9-0.
So
It was 9-0.
I'm thinking on the next third coast, we need to see maybe Professor Draculino get on.
There's rumors, Professor.
I heard
Did
some
you
stuff.
confirm or deny those
How about your
rumors?
rumors too?
This is about you, Professor. This is about
I'm sure if your guys weight, I can train with you guys.
you. You can't make the weight, Professor.
I'm just saying.
That's
I'm
close.
close enough, right?
Look, I never said in my life that I'm retired, because I think a lot of times that people say they're retired, they want to just be in the headlines. I'm retired. And they're retired again.
Yeah.
And they're retired.
Yeah.
You know, so I never said I'm retired.
It's like Tito Ortiz,
But
man.
I don't see for a while myself competing or fighting again. I actually think it was easier for me to get in a fight again than compete in jiu-jitsu.
So,
I did jiu-jitsu for many years.
I saw you hitting Thai pads.
Yeah, it's
the
just
other day.
for keeping me in shape.
I have a
You
question
look
for you,
pretty
Professor.
sharp.
Just to keep myself in shape.
What name would get you back into the jiu-jitsu competition game? Or two? This is a good time to name names. We encourage it on this one.
There's, honestly, man, I think about it. There's some interesting matches that could happen, but I don't think there's anybody that really gives me appetite.
I
Honestly.
mean, you fought jiu-jitsu for so
For
long,
so long.
Professor.
I've been fighting jiu-jitsu since like, what, 1985.
Like going to the
Professor,
professional.
what do you?
For all these years, and I mean, I love it. I still go there and feel the itch and all that, but it's something that I'm in a moment of my life that it's not something that is like bothering me in a good way. Man, you gotta do it.
Nothing to prove, right?
So
And it's not even that nothing to prove. It's just like I would have to have like a very deep desire, and if I'll do it, if I decide to do it, it's gonna be in. I'll be ready. I may lose or may win, but I'll be ready.
Professor, so
Be ready.
what would you think?
And
about
that is so busy for a lot of other things that I have to put a lot of other things behind or waiting. And man, a lot of people depend on me. A lot of people depend on my decision. Other people depend on my work. A lot of people depend on a lot of things that are in my back.
It would be a little bit selfish, almost.
It would be totally selfish.
Fighting is selfish, though.
It would be
Fighting is selfish.
people would think it was cool. It would be a cool thing, but it
So
would be selfish.
if
That is, you said it right. That would be selfish.
if a
100%.
straight jiu-jitsu match doesn't get the appetite going, right? What about
MMA, yeah, maybe.
no
Combat.
jiu-jitsu? So combat
Open hands
jiu-jitsu.
The one with the slap?
That's
Yeah.
right. Only on the ground. What
No,
about that?
but you can like palm heel
Yeah, it's
strike.
kind of in the middle.
You can
It's
like
not MMA.
We
it's
try
not
to make
jiu-jitsu.
hype videos.
What about
It's
that,
the
Professor?
boss-
It's jiu-jitsu or a fight.
That's it.
Nothing against the combat jiu-jitsu. It's cool, actually.
Yeah.
But, nah.
There's some promotions out there.
I either do
Funky.
jiu-jitsu or I do fight, like I did before.
Okay, so we're gonna.
Maybe a Japanese, an older guy my age, like a MMA fighter against me, that would be something that maybe, yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot of them out there.
But would you? Is there any name that or somebody?
Because they never quit. They don't tap. They die, and I'm kind of the same way.
And
So
you're-
it's
you're
the
the-
Japanese against the Paraíba.
That'll be good. Is there any names that could maybe even get you out for, let's say, I don't want to say like a demonstration match, but kind of like a, hey, this is how jiu-jitsu.
Well, now they're having in Abu Dhabi Pro, very close friend of yours, and somebody I looked up to a lot just through
Who?
video. Alexander Soka.
Soccer.
They're having these matches in the Abu Dhabi Pro, kind of these legends matches.
Legends matches,
You know,
yes.
Megaton's fighting, Soka's
Yeah.
fighting, House
Yeah.
Mora's fighting, all of
Right.
these guys. Does that kind of stuff interest you at all?
I got invited for the one 2 years ago.
2 years.
But it was 2 weeks notice, and I had a similar schedule. But I got invited by the organization.
Did they have an opponent, or just they just said, "What do you think about it?"
I don't remember. I think it was something about Yuki Nakai. Oh
Wow.
no, Yuki
That was a great match.
Nakai. Yuki Nakai was maybe a possibility at BJJ Stars.
Okay.
But I think he's also retired.
I think that's
Like
a
De La
great
Riva
match
too.
right
De La Riva, these guys are retired.
Yeah.
I mean, retired kind of. I don't know if retired, but they.
They haven't fought in
And
a
I
while.
understand completely, man. Damn. And honestly, they're great. I think it would be really, really good matches, but I don't have like all that appetite to go and say, man, I would love to do it.
Yeah.
Like I used to be in the past. Before I went against Hoyle, I was like, man, I would love to go against Hoyle.
You know, there's
it's
no
different.
animosity. It's just that drive to go and compete. And
That will be
do
maybe
it.
the first time I'll compete against a guy I respect a lot. And I don't know, man. It'll be
Yeah.
weird. I come from a time that was like,
We'll just make it a very promoted flow
key,
roll. How about that?
kill or be killed. I don't say no, but I don't say yes. Let's see what happens.
You never know until the offer's there, right?
Exactly.
Well,
That's what we like to hear.
shift gears a little bit here, and this is a bit personal for me, but I'm curious, and I'm just gonna ask it flat out. Multiple times, you've questioned my sexuality. You've called me gay many times.
There are many girls out there with many words that will prove you wrong.
So I'm just going to give you a couple scenarios. I'm just going to give you a couple scenarios. I'm just curious to know what about those scenarios made me so gay at that time. One, I came to work wearing a cardigan sweater. That was it.
I don't even know what it is.
It's just a simple sweater that you button up. Simply a button-up sweater. That's one. Now, number two is even more. So I could understand maybe the cardigan sweater. I kind of get it, sort of. Now, there's a second time. Coach Ricky and I were talking about it, and neither one of us can wrap our heads around it. I showed up to class. I had ridden my bike from my house to the gym. It was a fixed gear bike.
Did the bike have a seat on it?
It had a seat on it. There's a seat on it. Okay. It was a white and black bike. I call it the Stormtrooper.
Right.
And
UFC color.
I brought in, and I was just kind of leaning it against the wall. And you called me a slur. I'm not going to repeat. It had to do with my sexual preference. And what I'm most curious about is, what about that bike was so...
It had you on it.
I don't remember that.
It wasn't the Asblaster 3000,
I
was it?
really don't remember
It
that.
wasn't the Asblaster 3000.
I remember
It didn't have a
Hey guys, look, for the record. For the record, look. I am not even close to have prejudice against...
No, Professor, this is about me. This is about me, Professor. No, hang on. I was just trying to imply,
Because
sir.
in Brazil, it's not that people have prejudice, but people make jokes about anything that gets close to a certain stereotype.
Yeah.
So this guy, for example, has like kind of like a nerdy stereotype,
Or a bike?
He's like nerd. He's nerd, whatever. If he looks like a little more metrosexual or kind of like they call him gay.
Yeah.
But it's not like, it's like in a fun way. It's like
Right.
you know.
We appreciate it. I enjoy it.
It's all,
I love the joke.
it's also like a nice, it's not like something pejorative or something like hateful or something like, or present. Not at all. Not at all.
It all comes from a place of love.
No,
somebody's been really sick.
I love it. I said I get it with the sweater. I get it.
You just wanna know how
I
to
get it.
change.
You know what I mean?
I
I
think
get
you
it.
probably had like a pink sweater or something. I don't know.
No, it was gray.
But then again,
I still wear it every other Thursday.
It was fitted.
It has
It fit me
buttons.
properly.
It has
That's
buttons.
correct. I will not apologize for having style. I won't do it. But the
I don't
bike.
like style that's you sometimes you put like a red pants. What's that? That's not my thing.
Just red pants.
But I want to know.
I think like some girls who look at you, and I know you love girls, they would be like,
Oh, Professor Brennan loves
maybe he
I
doesn't.
love the girls.
That's
Yes, maybe they think that guy.
He's
is
looking
a
out for
good-looking
you,
guy,
but he's
but
gay.
good-looking
Are they-
guy, but I don't.
Are they like, he looks like a guy I want to snuggle with or a guy I want to go shopping with?
Yes.
Yeah.
Kind of like that, buddy, you know.
They're gonna take him shopping. They're gonna take him shopping.
They're like, ooh, I want to take
Nothing
some
wrong with
shots.
that. Nothing wrong with that.
Also,
Nothing
All
wrong with
that we support
But
this rep.
you love women so much that I want women to know your real man. In the sense of like,
Thank you.
it's like hetero.
He's telling me
Like
to get rid of
girl,
the bike.
like girl.
But why
It's
is
not the pants,
why
it's
is
the bike.
riding a bike
What? Remember that?
You probably, maybe it was the way you were riding the bike.
So,
I'm telling you,
did you have an arched back where you
No,
Was there a basket on the bike?
No, it's a fixed gear
there was a
bike.
bell.
Does
No
it have-
brakes,
does it
not
have-
riding out of control.
Is there like a flower on the basket?
There's no
It probably
no.
It was a
that
girl's
bike
bike.
with yoga pants or something.
I'm not. That's
Oh my
Professor
God.
Lucas. That's Professor Lucas. You know
No
that.
spats.
I don't wear.
You
I
did
don't wear
get
yoga pants.
roasted online for when you were in Europe and you were riding a girl's bike.
That wasn't a girl's bike.
It was a unisex bike.
That was the.
Oh, I think it was
that was not a girl's
So
bike.
technically,
Europe's a bit more
no,
progressive with
it's
their
a-
two-wheel
it's a bike that a woman could
Man,
ride.
Zach, you went deep on the Facebook there.
I know, yeah.
You went deep diving.
But you know, this is all about being on a
You are
team,
research.
you know, being with people you like. I mean, every now and then
Well,
we'll be
yeah.
training, and I'm like, I'm gonna pass the shit out of your guard.
Yeah.
And we're just cracking a joke,
Yes.
Obviously.
and that's what it's about, right? It's
Yeah.
about having fun
Yeah,
with people.
it's
that-
a stereotype. Even like the other way, like a guy who's like, oh, I'm tough, I'm macho, whatever. And then you say like, hey, macho man. You know, it's just like
Yeah.
getting something that relates to a certain stereotype and then exaggerating on
play
that.
on
That's
it.
all.
And the other guy needs to understand. Oh,
Well,
okay, it's just.
and this is something that has. I mean, this is so fascinating to me. You know, there's a lot of people who are they're great professors, but you can't hang out with them. You can't. They just always they're above. They're the master. They're the coach. They do
Yeah.
not fraternize at all.
Mhm.
And then there's people who are the best friend. So they're not always the best coach because people don't look at them the same way.
Yeah.
And I always thought that you had the absolute best. You know, you were
balancing of that.
Yeah, exactly. You were so good at being approachable, but commanding the respect that you deserve. And I think from somebody like myself who's been training under you for a long time, it's such a pleasure to be able to have that kind of relationship where we can have fun, we can joke around. You know what I mean? But
You
at
talk
this-
about your pants.
you can talk about how gay I look in my sweater, you know, and that's
mean
that's
on-
funny. I
on
love
your
it
bike?
too. On my bike,
you
you
look
know.
very cat.
I mean, imagine if I was wearing a sweater on a bike, my head would explode.
With goodness.
But you know, I think that's something that really sets you apart, professors. That you're really able to do both those things equally well.
Thank you.
And I
Absolutely.
think that's one reason why, you know, there's a lot of people that get talked about within their own team, but you're one of the few people that people from other teams will always point out as being one of the best guys in the game, and that's very, very rare.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Man, I am who I am. I think that the best thing in the world for you to be true to yourself, you know? Everybody who deals with me or knows me or have a relationship with me knows exactly how I am. I'm kind of like transparent. I don't fake anything. I'm not a saint, far from being a saint. I have a lot of mistakes, a lot of flaws, a lot of I think about bad stuff all the time. I tend to be a little aggressive sometimes, you know, but this is who I am.
Those are
I'm
the human
true.
traits that work for
I'm true to myself and true to the others. Whoever knows me, that's exactly who I am.
I think
You
you're
know?
also
I don't force anything, you know.
you're reasonable and you're fair, Professor. You give people a lot of chances.
I do.
We've butted heads many times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of
And,
chances.
I mean, you give people a lot of chances. You're fair. You're reasonable.
Because I think loyalty and respect is always both ways.
That's right.
Definitely a two-way street.
Well, and I think you represent that. I mean,
It has to
probably
be.
better than anyone I've heard in my
Otherwise,
whole
it's
life.
exploitation. Otherwise, it's something that is like a control that is not fair. I think
A one-sided
I think
relationship always goes bad.
That always goes bad. It has to be a two-way street.
Well-
in respect, in loyalty, in care. You know. Otherwise, I mean.
Well, bringing it back to jiu-jitsu, do you think now people are less loyal than 20 years ago?
Yeah,
100%.
No,
100%.
absolutely. I think the professionalism and the monetary gain that people
Man,
have.
nobody needs to be like a slave of anybody all their lives. There are people who left their teams and the masters with good reason. Don't get me wrong. This
And
happens.
on good- and on good
And
terms.
will happen.
And on good
And
terms.
will happen.
There will always be a
Sometimes
problem.
even in bad terms, but sometimes people use their power or their position to explore and to exploit and to really take advantage of other people. That's not right too.
Well, speaking
You know?
of loyalty, you've been with the same team your whole entire career. Gracie Baja, started by Master Carlos Gracie. And he not only started the Gracie Baja team, he also started Gracie Magazine. He also started the IBGF, which is the biggest jiu-jitsu organization in the world. Just tell us a little bit about what that was like, coming up under somebody that had such a great vision for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And one thing that I sorry to cut you off,
no problem.
One thing that I always thought was amazing about Master Carlos Gracie was that his team is called Gracie Baja.
Yeah.
It isn't called Carlos Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, which I thought that was a big deal actually.
It's an amazing move and shows how ahead he always was.
Yeah.
He's a person who was always ahead.
Well, what did people say
when
he said that he was going to have these tournaments around the world? What did he say about that?
Everybody ridiculed him. Everybody laughed in his back. A lot of people played against that. A lot of people were like rooting for him for the project not to work. And he always believed that it would work. And amazing what he said back in the day is happening now in actually higher standards and with more intensity than when he said. More people competing, more tournaments. The sport took like huge heights, everything. And he said that back in the day, he believed on that. So whatever he says, I listen. I learned that because some people had this gift. I don't know if it's a gift, it's something spiritual, I really don't know. But they said his dad was like that too.
Like a vision.
Yes.
He's good at forecasting.
Grandmaster Carlos Gracie. He has like a something spiritual, something like, I don't even know what it is.
It's interesting listening to them talk. This is interesting listening to Master Carlos Gracie Jr. talk. Like when he talks about his vision for a school on every corner, that type of stuff. It's really interesting to because you can tell he can see it.
He can see it. He can see it, and you agree or you don't agree with everything 100% he says. You gotta respect what he says. What comes from his mouth. You gotta respect.
It's kind of like learning jiu-jitsu from. You almost have to trust in the process.
Oh yeah.
It's like it might not be working for you right now, but just give it time. It's gonna get
where it needs
to be.
Yeah, I know. I agree.
Well, now he does. He's getting credit for creating those things.
Oh yeah.
But what do you think? I mean, he was also.
He got like, man. A lot of people like talk all kinds of things about him, like for all these times. I actually got in a fist fight because of him, because there was this guy talking crap about him in Belo Horizonte.
Really?
In a juice shop.
Sucos.
Yeah. And it wasn't even a fight. It was a fight, but they split really quick, and the guy was talking mad crap about him.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, he's like a crook, and he's only for the money. And
was this another jiu-jitsu
guy? Yes.
Oh, okay.
Well, and a lot of
man, don't talk about somebody that you don't know. He's my master. Don't talk about. You're not gonna talk bad about him in front of me. He goes like, it's true. Why? You have a problem with that? I say, I have a problem with that. So what are you gonna do about it? Before he finished the phase, he got slapped.
Well, and also too,
And he goes, always like always, these guys are like that. Playing Brazil is kind of like normal, Here will be sued.
You're gonna take off quick.
I'll be like the animal.
Definitely more sensitive on this side of the equator.
He was also he built the Gracie Baja team, which is one of the most legendary teams in the game, and he competed as well. I mean, he won the very first Masters international tournament as well.
He's bad. He's the toughest 63-year-old man on earth for sure.
What do
in
you
jiu-jitsu for sure.
What's something that he told you?
You train with him, you see, you feel. I don't think there's nobody on this earth with 63 years old in jiu-jitsu that is better than him.
What's something that he told you when you were coming up through the lower belts that had a big impact on you, as far as jiu-jitsu,
Master Carlos is always a guy who is very hard for him to make a compliment.
Okay.
It's more like always like.
We have some people like that in the room.
Yes, kind of like you. So
when they come,
I remember one time he looked at me training. He goes like me, and then after the training, he goes,
What belt were you at this point?
Brown.
Okay.
And he said, like, man, you can normally pass the guard to the right. Have you ever noticed that? Guess what? He was true.
You're like, I noticed it that day. Yeah.
He was true. I passed here.
Always to your right?
To my right.
To your right.
I pass only to my right.
Which that's
I pass to the left now.
You are left-handed.
Some. I pass to the left. To the left. Some. Because I pass a lot of the underhook, so I pass a lot of the underhook on the other side. And sometimes when I do the leg drag, it's always to the opposite side. But he was right. He said, like, see, you pass the guard well, but if you get somebody that blocks the pass to the right side, you're dead. I was like, that's true.
Shit.
That's true. And then I started to do combinations, and it made me better. It wasn't a technique that he taught me. It was just something that he said that
Spark
made the whole difference.
Yeah, put a spark on it.
And that's
the right word at the right time.
And that's what a coach does, right? A lot of times it's not about the actual technique; it's about getting in your head.
Well,
I'm
yeah,
telling
you know, when the student is ready, the technique will appear.
I love that.
But that's a real thing.
Yeah,
and it's a real thing, and a good coach knows that, and a good coach will put those kind of things in your head when you're ready.
Yeah, that's really true.
So, Professor, do you have any seminars coming up? Anything that you
Always.
There's always something, but I have to get the dates. There's a couple of things going on. I have to go back to Europe, to the Middle East. I'm probably going to go to China for the first time. I think I'm going to go back to Singapore one more time. And there's a guy who, Gracie Baja member, that wants me to teach a seminar in Kazakhstan. That will be a good one. Never been there.
You haven't been out there before?
No.
I know you travel a lot of
Yeah,
Russians.
but never there.
We like to talk about your yearly European tours.
Yeah, that's what's going on. Brazil, I have to go. I didn't go to Brazil yet. I'm so busy. I have my school in Brazil. I have to go back in there. There's a lot of people that want me to teach seminars in Brazil. A lot of people. I could be there for like easily 2 months if I wanted to, but I can't. Yeah, there's always this, and a lot of other things on the personal side too. Just doing my normal grinding, killing a lion a day. If you don't kill a lion a day, the lion kills you, and then
Right. Well, on behalf of us, I want to thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Aside
more than
from,
2 hours already.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Aside from
Dying here, hungry.
Well, and I'll say this to the
We
listeners.
came from the class. A lot of people don't know. We came from the class. A whole.
I'll say this too to the listeners. Generally it's good advice to not meet your heroes, because they will disappoint you most of the time. And I've had this happen to me. You meet somebody you look up to, and they're kind of like an asshole or something. However, if you looked up to Professor Draculino and he's your hero, meet him.
Go say hi.
Okay? He is much cooler than you think he is.
He really is.
Like, you have an idea of how cool he is, he's way cooler than that. So if you see him in the tournament, go up there, introduce yourself, take a picture.
And he will react to you like you're his cousin.
Yeah, he's going to call you champ. Okay, he's going to call you champ, and he's going to be so excited, and he really is. It's genuine too. He likes meeting people, and if you see him, get out there and talk to him.
Yeah.
Sorry, Professor, but you got to talk to him.
I haven't known it.
Punk rock, right?
No, it happens all the time.
It brings a smile to my face when I see Professor interact with brand new students. Like it's great.
I'll tell you, one of the things that always gets me is when you introduce yourself to people as Vinny. That throws me off.
No, it's great when other people. No, Professor, it's great when other people come up to us and they tell us that they know Vinny.
They're like, is Vinny
Is Vinny here?
In America,
What did you say in the previous podcast?
for the civil population. Civil, I say no jiu-jitsu martial art people. I'm Vinny.
Vinny.
Yeah, some of the parents come in there.
People can't
I
say
saw
Vinicius.
Vinny out to eat the other day. I'm like, that makes no sense to me.
Because it is so
It's like,
strange
what
to
are you
us
talking
to even think
Well,
about calling you Vinny.
What I love is when people, you get people calling the school, telemarketers or whatever,
Yeah.
and they'll ask to speak to Vinicius.
Vinicius,
Magalhães. Vinicius, Magalhães.
I got
You're clever.
Magalhães. I got Magalhães. I got
Martinez.
And then some people was like, "You can't go." Like they can't say.
Professor, so there's another fighter out there that has your same name.
Yeah, same exact.
And you told me one time,
Pezão.
for like
Yeah.
3 years, people, when he was fighting, people would send you
All the time.
messages.
And when I fought my last MMA fight, a lot of people said him. And I remember he commented, I was just starting Facebook. He didn't know.
You're like, here, sir.
And then I saw there's like ages after, because I didn't know, see notification, didn't know nothing. And then I saw like, they post on his page like, congratulations for your victory in Strikeforce. And he goes like, thank you very much. Did you like that I lost around 45, 50 pounds and then I dye my hair gray?
Wow, that's hardcore, Professor.
Professor, I saw you.
Exactly.
I saw you and him talking in the Houston Open a couple years ago, and you walked off, and I go, the Magalhães. And he goes, he's my dad.
Man, Professor, I have to be honest with you. When I know how to pronounce your name, whenever I'm
Let's hear it.
No.
Let's hear it.
No, come on.
Let's hear it.
Let's hear the official Professor Berto.
I'll give him my try.
Let's hear it.
Magalhães?
Close.
Close? Okay, so in my head, when I'm writing your name down, I always say Magalhães.
I always do that
so
too.
I remember how to spell it correctly.
I say Magalhães.
That makes sense.
So let's get the official pronunciation. Come on, Professor. Vinny.
No. Vinicius Magalhães.
God damn.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's not a
L-A-G-C.
Professor.
Yeah. Like Yama.
okay.
Magalhães.
Okay.
I'm gonna work on that tonight.
In Carioca's Portuguese, Magalhães.
There we go.
Because you say the S.
Well, I guess on that note,
Last thing. Sorry,
okay.
last thing.
Monica will give you a lot of crap tomorrow.
Oh, Monica, if you're listening,
We are so sorry
thank
for
you.
everything.
No, Monica loves me. Monica loves me. I love Monica too, and your son Igor. I wish you, Igor, if you're listening.
Senator? You mean Senator?
Yes, Senator Igor. If
Senator,
you're listening, come down here and train. Right, we miss you. Come down
pop
here.
into the podcast. How about that?
And speaking of
That'd be
Monica, she's a blue belt. She needs to get back on the mat. I know she's blue belt. She needs to
I
get
tell
back.
her all the time. And she stopped training at a different time. It was different
Houston
time.
Open
Oh
coming
man, look how many girls we have
Houston
there.
Open coming up. But last thing I wanted to ask
Sure,
is,
one, she's tough as nails, man.
I
I'm
always
scared
like.
of her, honestly.
Good lineage.
we talked about kind of the golden age of jiu-jitsu, and if people want to do a little bit of research into history, can you give us some classic matches that you think changed the game or set a new tone?
History
in the
of jiu-jitsu?
sport? Yeah, just some classic matches on YouTube that you can watch.
Or for these young guys who are like, they think
Well-
the 2000s is like a long
Yeah.
time ago. What
Oh,
matches should we
spiders.
watch?
Yeah.
Just like some legendary matches.
Pre two spiders.
Oh man, there's a lot.
Maybe your top
Two
three.
spiders work
Top
up.
three.
Like on the 90s, 80s, man, that's one from the 80s that is amazing, that you guys can see. Hickson Gracie versus Cássio Cardoso.
Oh, that's
Amazing one. Cássio Cardoso is bigger than him. And one of the
Was
best
it
guys
absolute?
from Carson. Was an absolute, I think. Another one that I think is really, really, really good from the 90s would be, trying to think about, Roleta versus Nogueira.
Oh,
yeah,
shit.
that is a good.
It was amazing. I would say Margarida versus Saulo Ribeiro.
And his brother Janji, in the same tournament,
Roger Gracie
also good.
versus Jacaré in the brown belt.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of good ones that they're going to have a lot of fun watching.
We'll fall into a good
right.
rabbit hole on that one.
Yeah, that's a lot. A bunch.
all right. Well, on behalf of everyone here at the Fifth Strike, we want to thank you.
Thank you.
Professor.
Yeah,
Thanks
guys.
for being with us.
We do
It was a
appreciate
great time. It was a great time.
Thanks, Professor.
How was the people on Facebook? They behaved well?
Amazing.
I didn't love it.
Okay, cool. Good
I
deal.
still don't know how to even turn on notifications. We'll deal with that.
It was something new for me too. The other day.
If you want El Jefe, I got plenty of them over here.
No, I'm good, brother. It's only on the weekends. Friday starts and then Sunday morning, Sunday lunch is over. I enjoy to drink like a nice beer and a nice wine.
That blue moon.
But but I always.
What was it? Jingu?
Oh, Jingu's good.
Then we had at
Jingu's good.
Avenida Brazil.
This is good.
Yeah, it's
That
like a
black
dark
beer.
beer.
It's called I'm going to try to get it on the podcast. It's called a German Schwarzbier, which is a dark lager.
This
Yeah.
is the Shingu?
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah, it's
Really
no, we
good.
had it. Yeah, it's really good. I'm
really
gonna try to get it to have it on the podcast.
We should have had, you know what, to make Professor feel comfortable,
It's hard to
we
find.
should have had some skull here.
Skull.
Or maybe some like a...
Yeah.
No, I was really thinking about
Some brown.
One reaction.
I was thinking about
One reaction on the
cachaça,
beach.
'cause I have
There's
cachaça.
one reaction on the beach.
Yeah.
Skull.
Yeah, that's right. The beach skull.
And you throw it on the beach, and then some guy comes picks it up.
Yeah.
Sounds like the next time we get a professor on, it might have to be a Saturday evening or a Sunday, and we can
I need a
It makes
bring
some
his
cosmopolitan.
favorite beverage in.
I can make some caipirinhas.
Oh my goodness.
Don't ever do that. Don't ever do that again. Don't ever do that again.
Don't do that.
All right. Well, thank you again, everybody,
Thank you,
for listening
guys.
to Fist Drive Podcast. We will check you on the next one. Play that beat.
JustKeepFans.com, always free shipping, so no guarantee.
Thank you. You guys like it?
That was great.
Professor, thank you so much.
Just watch.
Appreciate it.
I left all
Did
my
we get,
gear.
Professor,
Jack,
did we get too hot there?
Huh?
Did we get too hot? Was that my intro?
I love it. I was like, why am I gay all the time?
No, the problem was that when he said about gay.
No, I didn't mean it like that.